What's going on, fellow A pluses? It's your boy Adam Perez. We're back once again with a brand new live episode of A Plus Hero Report, your weekly stop for your Marvel, DC, television, and movie news, streaming live for you guys today. We got 6 incredible topics we're going to be breaking down for you guys. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. And we'll see you guys on the other side. What's going on, fellow A pluses? It's your boy Adam Perez. We're back with a brand new episode here for you guys today. Appreciate you certainly joining us for another fantastic episode. It is I, just yourself today, rocking solo dolo. We got incredible topics we're going to be breaking down for you guys today, and hopefully you guys will certainly be joining us here today. We got a couple of comments we're going to be diving into here for today's show. We're going to be getting into some Star Wars news for you guys today. We also got Warner Brothers news, as it seems as though that they are definitely up for sale this time around. We also got some DCU updates as James Gunn joined Emergency Awesome over on YouTube and answered some questions and give us some more insight. And then we got a couple other additional stuff for you guys as well. How's everybody doing so far today, man? Certainly go ahead and let me know. I'm thinking about seeing if I could switch over. Give me one moment. I'm trying to see if I can switch over my from my webcam over to my phone to see if that will allow me to maybe have a better connection. Give me one moment here and see what's going on. How are you guys doing, man? Let me know in the chats how you guys are doing today. Let me see if this can work. Blossom says, looks like you guys have a lot of news. Yeah, I definitely have a lot of news on my end here. Give me one moment. I'm trying to see if I can switch over to my phone here. Give me 1 second, guys. This one's being a little bit slow, so I want to maybe pop onto my phone instead. Use the camera there so it's not as much, and maybe just produce from today's show. But let me see if I can make this happen. Hold on a second. Can I get this thing to go sideways? I don't think I can get this thing to go sideways, can I? I don't think so. Yeah, it's like once I it's so interesting. Like once I get off of the actual compute, like once I get off of the actual webcam to stream for you guys, that's when it gives me problems. But like, let me give me one more. Hold on 1 second. I'm gonna log back out of this. Hold on. I want to see something. Want to see something real quick. All right, it seems to be okay now, but we'll see how this turns out. Let's see here. What do we got in the comments section with us today? We got Enrique Perez. Hey, Adam, my honorable mention that is confirmed that Mario from Nintendo is going to make its balloon debut in Macy's Thanksgiving Parade. Oh, that's kind of badass, not going to lie. Looking forward to that. What else we got? Also confirmed that Shrek is coming back to the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Very cool. Are they still going to have the Power Rangers one is what I'm curious about. Let me see. They don't give me the option in here to add like a I'm trying to see if they give me an option on here to add like a background to my cell phone, but it doesn't seem like it. It looks like what you see is what you get. Um, Also, official trailer for Wicked, a sequel, Wicked for Good, in Lego form last week. Lego form, that's kind of crazy. That's not true. That's not crazy because I have seen popular trailers get changed into Lego form trailers before, so that's kind of cool. Victoria's spin-off series Hollywood Arts starring Danielle Monet will begin production in October. Okay. Finally, the rumored that Illumination and Universal finally got the official title for the upcoming Minions 3, and it will be arriving in theaters July 2026. We got Ram Jam in the house. What's up, Ram Jam? Appreciate you certainly coming through today, man. Just a video on, saw a video on Walter Jones' YouTube channel where a fan brought Walter Jones' Black Ranger suit from Once and Always on a Hasbro auction and then went to San Diego Comic-Con and gave the suit to Walter. Oh, that's badass. That's so cool. That is so cool. What a cool thing to do as a fan, man. I hope you really appreciated that. Just letting you know, I emailed my live viewer questions. If you can remind me, Ram Jam, by the end of the show, please go ahead and do so, because sometimes I'm the worst at remembering to check my email. We got Blossom in the house. Good to see you. I hate you, Marcelino. I hate you, Marcelino. But yeah, guys, let me know how everybody's doing here this weekend. Yeah, it's just myself. Stuart did reach out to me early in the week to let me know he wasn't going to be able to join. But I didn't get somebody else to join me here this week just because I've been having so many issues with my computer here. I just didn't want to embarrass myself with somebody else, like a guest, like a brand new guest or a recurring guest to come back and have these internet connection issues. So I do apologize, guys. It will be better next week. Let's see here. But yeah, with that, look, as we go through these topics, always remember these are simply my A+ opinions. I always want to go ahead and know yours. So let your thoughts be known in the comment section box or the live chat after this video airs or as we're going live. As I go through these topics, remember, it's just me here, guys. So if you have any thoughts, if you have any opinions, any conversation starters for any of these topics that you want to talk about, please let them be known in the live chat, and I'll certainly go ahead and bring you guys up today. But yeah, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get into our first segment of the day. Let's see here. We got ourselves some honorable mentions today. Couple of topics. For those of you who don't know, honorable mentions are really just topics that didn't quite make the cut, but I still felt that you deserve to definitely know about them. So let's see what we got on the docket today. Let's see here. First and foremost, believe it or not, Miami Vice is in the news this week. I was going to go ahead and make this one of our topics, but I feel like we've talked about this so much already that I want to put this in the honorable mention section. But last week, or maybe a couple of weeks ago, Nexus Point News came out and revealed that Michael B. Jordan, along with Glenn Powell, were in fact in talks to be in Miami Vice. It looks like Nexus Point News got one out of the two correct. Michael B. Jordan is in fact in talks to be in this movie, but instead of Glenn Powell, it sounds as though Austin Butler, that's right, Austin Butler, according to Variety.com today, Austin Butler is in early talks to join Michael B. Jordan in the Miami Vice reboot. If the deal's ultimately closed, he would play James Sonny Crockett opposite of Michael B. Jordan's Ricardo Rico Tubbs, the suave South Florida detectives portrayed by Don Johnson and Philip Michael Thomas in the 1980s television series. They have, in fact, had one Miami Vice reboot film in the past, I believe back in 2006. This will, in fact, be the second one. So while earlier reports from Nexus Point News pointed at Glenn Powell being in this movie, it is now confirmed by Variety that Austin Butler is currently in early talks for that one. So that should be pretty interesting there. What else we got? Crystal Lake is back in the news. This is the Friday the 13th spinoff. It gets an exciting production update here this week as it has officially completed filming. That's right. The Crystal Lake Friday the 13th spinoff has completed filming. It's now going into post-production, and some are certainly expecting this series to drop sometime in 2026, perhaps maybe late 2026, maybe for that like fall schedule or whatever the case may be for next year. But Friday the 13th fans, rejoice, rejoice. The spinoff has completed filming. We also got some brand new Fallout pictures here, or posters, I should say, for you guys. This wind up releasing here this week. I believe production is already done on this season. It's actually supposed to be dropping sometime soon, I believe, right? December 17th. Yeah. According to some of the actors for the role, the lady that played Lucy, Ella Purnell, came out and talked a little bit about it, if I'm not mistaken, saying that at times it's like that they are on a buddy road trip this season, talking about her character Lucy and the ghoul. And then at other times, there's so much at arms. The actress teased that their road trip has high stakes for both of them as they're trying to influence each other and see who's going to rub off on whom. Is the ghoul going to become good? Is Lucy going to become bad? Or are they going to be somewhere in the middle? So that's what she had to say this week in regards to the release of these brand new Fallout images, y'all. I'm looking forward to season 2. I really am. I know my girlfriend was a really big fan. So anytime I can get the girlfriend on board with anything, I think that's a win for sure. We also got Rian Johnson in the news here this week. Rian Johnson's, according to the Empire magazine, he's got a new movie in mind. He says, the most exciting thing right now is this idea that I have in my head for the next thing I'm going to make. And I think ultimately that's all you can do is just kind of follow your nose, like Toucan Sam, if you will. It says that instinct is taking him into different genre territory. He says, if I had to define it genre-wise, I'd say it harkens back to the 70s paranoid thrillers. It's got a light sci-fi element to it. You know, he loves his light sci-fi elements for sure. He definitely had that in Looper. We definitely saw him tackle that in The Last Jedi. But this one looks like he says it's going to be a 70s paranoid thriller with light sci-fi elements in it as well. And look, man, if Rian Johnson is doing anything, personally, I'm here for it, man. I'm always a big Rian Johnson fan. And then last but not least, for honorable mentions here this week, we got ourselves some brand new day photos, set photos here, as Tom Holland is back on the set as Spider-Man, donning his costume and his suit. Some really cool shots of him pulling on this tanker. We've kind of seen him on top of this tanker before. Very militant kind of fighting going on here. I wonder what I really wonder who he's going up against. But these aren't the only two photos that I want to show you, as we do have new looks at Mark Ruffalo on the set for Brand New Day. So he is in fact confirmed for this film. Mark Ruffalo is here. And then we also got our first look at Sadie Sink as well on the set. Speculation continues to go in regards to who she could possibly be. If anything, I think people are getting closer and closer to figuring that out. But I will be interested to kind of see how this turns out. But yeah, Sadie Sink seen on set along with Mark Ruffalo here this week also. So those are, in fact, our honorable mentions, baby. What do you guys think, though? Ramjes is also, Butler would be interesting. He did an excellent job portraying Elvis. You know, he was just in this recent movie with Matt Smith and a couple Vincent D'Onofrio, where he and Zoe Kravitz, I believe. Is it Zoe Kravitz? I believe it's Zoe Kravitz. I completely missed it, man. I completely missed the movie in theaters. I wanted to see how Austin Butler did. He was also in another like a bikers movie within the past 2 years, I believe, with like Tom Hardy. That was another one. Kiki and Luca in the house. What's up, Kiki and Luca? Appreciate you coming through. Um, Kiki and Lucas says Fallout is a great show. Yeah, I was a fan of Fallout for sure. Whether you like Rian Johnson or don't like him, whether you like Last Jedi or hate it, one thing is indisputable: Last Jedi was a huge reason for the division in the fandom. Look, Rian Johnson to me honestly can do no wrong. Outside, I'm just speaking outside of Star Wars. I don't know if I've seen a bad Rian Johnson movie. Brick, Looper, his um, Knives Out, both Knives Out movies have been great. I have no doubt Wake Up Dead Man is going to be just as good. And I appreciate that he likes to do a lot of original content, a lot of original stuff. I think that Star Wars was like his first franchise or big IP thing that he tackled. So for me, when it comes to like original content, original movies that I really want to see, I think Rian Johnson's an excellent director, willing to take chances, willing to kind of take some swings and do things certainly differently. The Last Jedi definitely did cause division within the fandom, but I feel like I personally feel like over the past couple of years, there's been a little bit more positive momentum swing towards The Last Jedi. I do think that The Last Jedi in 20 years is going to be how people treat the prequels in the sense. I do think that they're going to look at The Last Jedi in 20 years and be like, bro, that was the best of the prequel trilogy for sure. But that's just me. I'm sure some people have its people that weren't a fan of it, and to each their own. But I think he did something bold. I think he really challenged viewers. Certainly made people think in regards to not only where Luke found himself, but even some of the ideologies that Luke has warranted. And when it comes to the Jedi, along with a great redemption story, I thought, for Luke Skywalker. Also, he continued to prove why I love Luke Skywalker as much as I do, based off of The Last Jedi. I think it just reinforces that for me personally. So yeah, to each their own when it comes to The Last Jedi, but I do think the narrative around just not only the sequels, but I do think The Last Jedi specifically, I think it will age well. At least I personally think so. Enrique says, have you checked the Mario Balloon Macy's parade photo? I have not checked it out. Maybe I will here in a little bit, though. Appreciate you bringing that up, Enrique. All right. I think that will do it for all of our honorable mentions here today. So with that out of the way, man, let's go ahead and get into our main topics, baby. That's right. We got 6 incredible topics. We're going to be diving into some big ones that I certainly was not expecting to have fall into my lap here this week, but I will be more than glad to certainly talk about them with you. So let's go ahead and knock this out. Our first one, we're going to get into some Disney Star Wars for you guys today. Look, it's hard to be a Star Wars fans these days. I'm not even gonna lie. It's hard to be a Star Wars fan, unfortunately, in this day and age. Sometimes you get great things, sometimes you get mediocre things, sometimes you get terrible things, sometimes you don't even get things that were promised to you, to be quite frank with you. There's been plenty of things that have been, in fact, announced in the past that have never had the opportunity to see the light of day. There's good Disney Star Wars, and then there's bad Disney Star Wars. And you can pick and choose whatever that certainly might be. But the one thing that I certainly appreciated when it comes to the sequel trilogy was some of the characters that I became really big fans of. The 3 specifically Ray, Finn, and Ben. I thought those were three characters that I personally would love to see return in any way, shape, or form, whether that be in prequel form or pushing the sequel storylines forward. I think there's a lot of stories certainly left to be told if you can get competent and really great writers to bring those characters to life. Well, this week, there was an opportunity apparently for a Ben Solo movie. That's right. Adam Driver possibly returning as Ben Solo. It apparently was, in fact, something that Lucasfilm was actively working towards after the sequel trilogy. That's right, a Ben Solo movie. Don't believe me? Let's dive into this article here. This one actually comes to us from Variety.com. This was the article that was officially released. The hunt for Ben Solo. According to Variety, Adam Driver pitched a Kylo Ren Star Wars standalone movie with Steven Soderbergh, but Disney rejected the script. One of the coolest projects I had ever been a part of. Thanks a lot, Disney. Thanks a lot, Disney. Um, let's see here. It says Adam Driver and Steven Soderbergh almost brought their own twist to a galaxy far, far away. In a recent sit down with Associated Press, Driver said that over the span of 2 years, he and Soderbergh developed a script called The Hunt for Ben Solo. The film would have taken place after the events of The Rise of Skywalker and followed Driver's Kylo Ren, aka Ben Solo, on a search for redemption. It says Soderbergh roughed out the story with Logan Lucky screenwriter Rebecca Blunt. Scott Z. Barnes later joined to pen the script. He says, I was interested in doing another Star Wars, is what Adam Driver said. I had been talking about doing another one since 2021. Kathleen Kennedy had reached out. I always said with a great director and a great story, I would be there. I love that character and loved playing him. Driver described the film as handmade and character driven, comparing it to the 1980s Empire Strikes Back. First off, God, why do we always have to do this, Star Wars fans? Why? Why? Is there not can we stop comparing things to describing films as or comparing it bar? That's such a high bar. We really need to stop doing that, I think. Give me one moment here. I may switch over to give me a second. I may switch over to my I may switch over to my camera. Hold on. Because my internet connection is kind of slow right now. So your boy may there we go. You guys see me okay? All right. Let's continue along with this story. It says Soderbergh and Driver pitched The Hunt for Ben Solo to Kathleen Kennedy, who loved the idea. She also, not only to Kathleen Kennedy, but Dave Filoni and Carrie Beck at Lucasfilm, who loved the idea. However, when they took the script over to Disney, they were shut down. We presented the script to Lucasfilm. They loved the idea, Driver recalled. They totally understood our angle and why we were doing it. We took it to Bob Iger and Alan Bergman, and they said no. They didn't see how Ben Solo was alive, and that was that. Soderbergh told Associated Press of the experience, I really enjoyed making the movie in my head. I'm just sorry the fans won't get to see it. Driver agreed, calling the project one of the coolest effing scripts I had ever been a part of. It's it's just disappointing to me that when you do have creatives that seem to be really hyped for something and everybody seemingly is on board, and then you take something to your boss and be like, hey, we've really thought this out, this really works, everything's there, we can make this work, and your boss tells you, sorry, we just don't have the money for it, or sorry, we think that's a really terrible idea on your part, and just completely just like doesn't comprehend what it is that you're trying to sort of explain to them. It just hurts. It just hurts. Like when you finally have everything that seemingly comes together and people are excited for this project, and it certainly and it just doesn't. You don't get the green light. It's just a bummer. Really talented director for sure. And I loved Adam Driver as Kylo Ren. So it is really unfortunate that this movie is not going to see the light of day. Um, but that's not it. That's not all. Earlier, also after that, we did get ourselves another report from, I believe, the playlist that even gives us more information. The Hunt for Ben Solo, secret Star Wars movie, was greenlit before Disney pulled the plug. It says sources close to the project emphasize that this was not a loose concept or an early pitch. The film operated under the code name Quiet Leaves, had a finalized screenplay. So, mind you, right? Kathleen Kennedy, Dave Filoni, Carrie Beck all approved this. Steven Soderbergh and other writers did rewrites for this script, had the script in hand, finished script, and entered early prep and staffing stages. They were prepping storyboard stuff, pre-production stuff, staffing stages. Disney purchased a fully developed treatment and a beat sheet and hired Scott Burns, who was paid more than any screenwriter in Lucasfilm history, to complete the screenplay. Burns' connection to Star Wars goes back further than most realize. He's an uncredited writer on Rogue One before Tony Gilroy came on board. According to insiders, Kathleen Kennedy and Dave Filoni were directly involved throughout the development and were reportedly enthusiastic about the drafts that came in. Kennedy and the story group waited until the project was ready to shoot. Like the story group was on board with this. Like this, the story group is usually the people that also understand how all of this fits sort of into the timeline and canon of it all. And they were ready to begin shooting before they presented it to Disney. When the final script, budget, and proposed start date were delivered to Disney, it marked the first time that Lucasfilm had ever presented a fully approved project that did not move forward. And that's something that Steve Soderbergh even confirmed for them later on, that yes, he spoke with Kathleen Kennedy. He had asked Kathleen Kennedy, is this the furthest like a project has ever gone? Like, has a project ever gotten this far for Lucasfilm or Disney and not been greenlit? And she said no, the first time. After the submission, the project stalled at the executive level. Fucking executives, right? It's always the executives. Sources say Bergman took an unusually long time to read the script. And when he and Iger finally responded, the primary concern was narrative continuity, specifically uncertainty about how Ben Solo could be alive following the events of the Rise of Skywalker. Is this not, like, Bob, is this not why you pay Kathleen Kennedy, Dave Filoni, Peter Hidalgo, and people at Lucasfilm to figure that stuff out for you? Like, when did Bob Iger become the know-it-all about how Star Wars operates for this man and be like, we just don't get it? How does he go? Well, if you can, they clearly know how. Kathleen, Dave, Peter, or Pete Hidalgo, like they all know how to, or Pablo, excuse me, Pablo Hidalgo, they all know how it works. Internally, that reaction surprised Lucasfilm leadership, who reportedly felt the story's logic was clear and creatively sound. Several people close to the project interpret the decision as politically motivated, coinciding with Bob's efforts with Iger's efforts to position Bergman as his successor at Disney. Well, look, I'm sorry, Mr. Alan Bergman, but if you're set up to be the successor to Bob Iger, I don't want you, bro. I don't want you. If your logic can't keep up with how Lucasfilm and the people behind it internalize and portray clear logic and creatively sound ideas to you, and you can't comprehend it, and so if you can't comprehend it, you're not going to make the movies. Bro, I do not want you in a position of leadership to make these decisions. That's crazy to me. The fallout from that decision appears to have extended beyond the project itself. Bergman's handling of several high-profile initiatives have been criticized eternally. Things are coming to light now, and his standing with Disney's succession plan has reportedly weakened. Other executives, including Josh D'Amaro and Dana Weldy, now viewed as stronger contenders for the top job. This this decision might have helped add to why he may not be part of the succession plan. I hope not. I hope that I hope he's lost some points. I hope he has. And other people are now viewed as stronger contenders for the job. Soderbergh and Driver were never compensated for the work on the project, while Burns reportedly received a low but substantially seven-figure sum to finish up the writing. Evidence of the film's progress surfaced earlier this year when Lucasfilm designer Bobby McKenna posted on Twitter that he had taken part in a design sprint under the Quiet Leaves code name in early production phase for the movie. The title itself strongly suggested the narrative focus. Ben Solo, redeemed at the end of Rise of Skywalker, survives, and his whereabouts become the central mystery. Whether Rey Skywalker or other established characters were involved remains unconfirmed. Some fans have speculated that Driver's recent comments were an attempt to pressure Disney into reviving the project, but sources close to both the actor and Soderbergh dispute this. Both filmmakers reportedly consider the project permanently shelved and are no longer bound by NDAs or contractual restrictions. Okay. So, as the film is classified internally as dead, feeling free to discuss it publicly for the first time. So, right now, there's suggestions that could Adam Driver have put this out there along with Soderbergh in hopes to pressure Disney into making this film? They both disagree in that regards. But my thing is, if that was the case, just don't bring it up. If I'm Adam Driver, granted, he doesn't have an NDA, he can openly talk about it if he wants to. My thing is, if you don't want this movie to be made, or if this isn't a pressure campaign to make Disney bring this back, just don't bring it back. Just don't bring it back. Just don't bring it up in conversation. Yeah, I would love to return as Kylo Ren one day. I think that'd be great. You don't got to tell us that you had something in the works, right? To me, that's just, if you didn't want it to happen or have a possibility of happening, don't talk about it. Don't talk about it. I will tell you this, though. There are people that do want to see this movie because the pressure campaign is on right now. And I mean that in a couple of ways. One, after the story was released, somebody brought a banner and flew it over Disney Studios. They went and purchased money. It says, save hashtag the hunt for Ben Solo. This is I feel like this is healing the Star Wars community right now. I've never seen more unification around a project in my life, to be quite frank with you. When people think about the prequels, they don't see the negatives when it comes to the prequels do not surround Ben Solo or Adam Driver. If anything, he was a highlight of the prequel trilogy. And people, regardless of how you feel about Star Wars these days, I think people are okay with the idea of having or wanting more. I think the majority of people would like to see more. At least that's what my Twitter algorithm has certainly been showing me lately. Maybe I'm wrong. But that's not the only attempt at the pressure campaign right now. Somebody literally went to Times Square and purchased a billboard for Adam. No one's ever really gone. Hope lives. Ben is alive. Hashtag the hunt for Ben Solo. THBS. I think this, if I'm not mistaken, I don't know how long this ad campaign on Times Square is running for, but I think it was like every 28th minute of the hour on the hour or something like that throughout the day. So maybe they purchased it for like one day, but the pressure campaign is on. People are certainly talking more about this movie. Whether or not it's gonna come to light, who certainly knows, and actually happens, that's another question. Separately, there were recent online reports that David Fincher pitched a new Star Wars film following the rise of Skywalker are inaccurate, as is already publicly but not widely known. Fincher met with Lucasfilm late last year, yada, yada, yada. So, Disney's board is scheduled to meet in January to determine Iger's successor, with announcement about Kennedy's eventual replacement at Lucasfilm expected soon after. Whether new leadership could revive abandoned projects remain uncertain, though probably unlikely. For now, the Hunt for Ben Solo stands as a rare example of a fully realized Lucasfilm-approved Star Wars film that was stopped only after reaching Disney's highest executive offices. And that's the story. Look, man, I'm gonna be dead ass real with you guys, okay? Uh, I want this movie. I want Disney, Disney. Do you hear me? I want this movie. I need this movie. Um, there are a couple things pushing against the reality of that, though, if I'm being honest. The Iger succession plan, right? You bring in somebody brand new, they may have an idea as to different directions that they want to go ahead and take Star Wars. Um, Kathleen Kennedy leaving, she's trying to get in, I think, is set in as much stuff and put as much stuff into place as she possibly can before she winds up leaving. And one of those things, which is my third reason that this may be difficult to pull off, is the Simon Kinberg sort of trilogy, right? Like he's literally fleshing out an entire new sort of direction for episodes 10, 11, and 12. That stuff may in fact contradict anything that Soderbergh and Adam Driver had it intentionally in mind for their story, and in turn going forward it may not even fit into the plans. This might have been sort of like, we got to strike right after the rise of Skywalker, but things have really changed drastically since then in regards to the lineup of films and the direction that they're taking. Like this clearly seemed like this was even developed before Sean Levy decided to go ahead and make a movie, before James Goldman, James Mangold's Dawn of the Jedi even came into fruition, or Dave Filoni's kind of Star Wars story movie really gained any traction, sort of thing. So I think maybe from a timing perspective, um, this couldn't have been released at a worse time, I think, if we want it. Do I think there's still a possibility that it could happen? Yes. I am certainly going to be one. Look, I am going to annoy a lot of you. I'm going to annoy a lot of you with the hashtag the hunt for Ben Solo on Twitter. I'm just being real. I'm just being real. I really want this movie. I was a big proponent to see WB cave and give us the Zack Snyder cut. Even though after that I jumped off ship because people just became cultists and I could not handle it whatsoever. But we have seen pressure campaigns work before. Very rare to say the least, but they have in fact worked before. And I just think if you have a finalized script, not to say that they're like, if you already have a finalized script, I'm sure there's maybe a couple of changes you can make to kind of fit it into whatever direction Simon Kinberg and the rest of this particular galaxy is going into. Um, and then be able to maybe start pre-production relatively quickly, but then you would have to probably juggle schedules, trying to find time for everything, what the budget is certainly going to be. So I will admit, I think that there's more against this happening than for. Like, if I had to say no, it's probably pretty high in the sense of like a 70% chance that this does not happen. But I'll take that 30% chance in regards to hope that this actually sees the light of day. My only concern is like, if there is a legit concern I have, is that I am a fan of Ray Skywalker. I am a fan of Daisy Ridley, and that character, and there's a lot of growth that I personally would love to see her character take and still be showcased on the big screen. My worry is, if we were to get something like a Ben Solo movie, would that then change the narrative in regards to like who's leading the franchise? Would this be a positive change for the franchise? Would people prefer Ben Solo to kind of be at the forefront of the Star Wars franchise over somebody like a Daisy Ridley as Ray Skywalker, and bring more people sort of into the fold? Like, would that in turn sort of um, hamper sort of any Ray Skywalker movies that have been struggling to even be developed, right? Like, I've been very loud in regards to, if we are going to be pushing forward with Ray Skywalker, she needs movies. And I'm not talking about episodic movies. I need a standalone Ray movie even before I get into something episodic, because I want to see her growth. I want to see the challenges to make her into the mentor that she will then be when we get to something like episode 10. And maybe she's got a fully realized Jedi Order. Like, I want to see the beginnings of that. Who's her first Padawan? I don't necessarily want to jump into a Rey Skywalker movie where she's already established herself. I want to see that work that she put in to get to that particular point, to where not only me as a viewer, but any doubters for Rey Skywalker can be like, you know what? She's kind of earned this position after all this time. I do think something like a Hunt for Ben Solo, can they work parallel? I absolutely do think so. I think even a Ray Skywalker could be a co-star in that movie, to be quite frank with you. But then, does it take away from Ray Skywalker as the lead? Do we then approach Star Wars going forward as co-leads in regards to Ben Solo and Ray Skywalker, whether they're a couple that a lot of people have been shipping? Is that how they're going to be tackling their Jedi Order? I think that there is room for growth here. I do think that there is a possibility, but I would be concerned to see, like, I guess I wouldn't necessarily trust Lucasfilm to handle it properly. And I think somebody even put this up here in the comments, which I think is one worth considering. Problem is Disney doesn't trust Lucasfilm anymore. That could very much be one of the reasons, to be quite frank with you. Maybe they've seen some of the swings, maybe they've seen some of the misses, but I would hope that Bob Iger and them would look at what they just accomplished with Andor, and maybe go back and look at some of the scripts and things that they have kind of passed up on. Like, to me, it's the idea of Adam Driver wanting to do this, a Soderbergh wanting to do this. It's not like this is just like no name people, right? Um, you've got Kathleen Kennedy, you've got Dave Filoni, you've got people on board on the inside that creatively can make this fit. And if Adam Driver, one of the more popular actors in your sequel trilogy, is telling you this is the coolest effing script I've ever read, I want to be a part of this, and agrees to sign on the dotted line, you do it. You do it. Um, missed opportunity, man. This is why we cannot have good things. It's easy to bust on Kathleen Kennedy, and this is not to absolve her of any of her mistakes or bad decision making that she's had in the past, but this one alone, falls at the feet of Bob Iger and Alan Bergman. Make no mistake. And I'm pretty adamant. I think that this would have been something relatively incredible. So I'm bummed, man. I am bummed. Um, but yeah, what do you guys think? Let's see what you guys are saying in here. Kiki and Lucas says Kylo died. That's just redunculous. Reminds me of somehow Palpatine lives. I will disagree with that. I can understand how it comes across as Palpatine lives, but I think that's more in regards to really shitty script writing. Um, like I find the position J.J. Abrams found himself in writing the script for The Rise of Skywalker, feeling frantic and having to retcon things and make quick, decisive decisions in regards to really poor decision making in regards to somehow Palpatine lives. I find that different from the idea of Adam Driver and Soderbergh and other writers actually sitting down and making logical sense of it, especially in the world that we live in right now, of just Star Wars and the access I think that Star Wars has to allowing people to sort of come back, right? The world beyond worlds, the power of the dyad. I think Screen Rant did an article like back in 2020, like 10 ways that Ben Solo could still be alive. Like, I think there's a lot of logical ways that this character could have survived. Whereas, to be frank with you, if they wanted Palpatine to live, I would have been okay with that if that was the original plan from the get go, and actually building like a story in 7 and 8 to take us to 9 to make the return of Palpatine palpable. But that wasn't the case, right? Like, I think there's a story there that you can bring Palpatine back, but the execution and the piss poor script of somehow Palpatine lives, like that's the issue that I have with that. Whether if you're gonna tell me a storyboard group and a group of writers and Adam Driver and a great filmmaker like Soderbergh are gonna sit down and really like flesh this out and pound out the details to make it fit logically and creatively sound within the world of Star Wars, I will take that every day over just the concept of I guess Palpatine lives somehow. But I get what you're trying. I get what you're trying to say. I just don't think that they're comparable. It's also hypocritical because Disney greenlight a Rey movie, yet they want to stay away from the sequels currently. Yeah, it is fascinating that they're trying to look. And look, to me, look, I will say this to me, you says it's hypocritical because Disney greenlit a Rey movie. Yeah, I guess it is kind of hypocritical in that sense of, well, I guess to them it's not hypocritical because Rey survived the Rise of Skywalker, whereas Ben Solo, in their minds, didn't. Like, so for them to greenlight a Rey movie in their heads is perfectly okay because she actually survived. Um, it just seems like when it comes to the Adam Driver stuff, it's simply because they could not wrap their minds around the concept of him being brought back. Imagine if Disney caved into the hunt for Ben Solo and made the movie, but Warner Brother refuses to release the finished Batgirl movie. Yeah, I mean, David Zaslav and Bob Iger are two different people, so that would be crazy, though. It would be crazy. But I do think this is probably more the issue that Kiki really nailed here. I think it's the idea that Disney maybe just doesn't trust Lucasfilm at this point anymore to knock it out of the park. Marcel says, personally, I think there should have been a Kylo Ren movie released between the sequel trilogy um, to ride the hype. You might be right. Kiki and Lucas says Daisy Ridley isn't very popular. Star Wars movies are expensive. They are expensive. And but that's my thing is that if she's not, if they know internally that she may not be that popular, why not take the bet on Adam Driver as Ben Solo, right? And but they decided to pass on it. Um, I mean, look, Disney's in charge of Marvel Studios where nobody dies over there too, right? Like the idea of like it, like just not logically being able to wrap your head around things. Like, dude, this is also the same company that like has Marvel Studios where literally nobody ever dies. Okay, so it's like it's hard for me to believe that the idea because he was dead is like the only reason they didn't want to do this. Shout out to Kiki and Luca though with the super chat always coming through. Thanks, Adam. I got to run one to thank you for being amazing. Hey, thank you for always coming through each and every week and supporting the channel the way that you do. I really do appreciate it, Kiki and Luca. I also saw Chainsaw Man, and it was really great. Oh yeah, that's right. The movie Chainsaw Man movie did release, didn't it? I haven't really seen it on my AMC, but maybe it's like on independent theaters or smaller chain theaters. But I haven't had the opportunity to check it out. But yeah, man, this is gonna be a hard pill for me to swallow. I really wanted this. I just really wish, to be honest with you, that they just didn't say anything. Like, just don't tell me this movie even exists, and I would have been perfectly okay with it. But now that it's out there, I got to deal with Star Wars continuing to not give us good things. So, just the life of a Star Wars fan, y'all. But shout out to Andor, shout out to Tony Gilroy, shout out to Star Wars Rebels, shout out to Star Wars Visions, shout out to 2 out of the 3 prequel movies. Shout out to the mediocre Ben Kenobi series giving me a great lightsaber battle between Darth Vader and Obi-Wan. Shout out to the Acolyte for attempting to do something, even though you didn't get it right the first time. You should have gotten a second opportunity to do it with one of the best lightsaber battles known to man since the prequel trilogy. I will stand on that. Shout out to Skeleton Crew, which was really enjoyable and fun also. Shout out to the good Star Wars content that we did get, y'all. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Do you think the hunt for Ben Solo will ever happen? Do you think this can gain enough traction within the next couple of months that they reach out to Simon Kinberg and be like, look, let's try and figure out how we want to like integrate this into all of our race Skywalker and other stuff. Like it's just crazy to me that we don't get this, but again, shout out to The Mandalorian for giving us 2 out of 3 great seasons. And I'm not going to go back and just say season 3 completely ruined my entire Mandalorian experience. Shout out to Jon Favreau for doing some great things with The Mandalorian. But when it comes to the hunt for Ben Solo, they say no to that, but they give us a TV movie on the big screen in The Mandalorian and Grogu. Oh, man. It is what it is. It is what it is. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comment section box below. With that out of the way, man, we will move on to our next topic for the day. As our boy James Gunn is back in the news. And with James Gunn being in the news, that means we got some DCU updates for you guys here today. He had the opportunity to go onto the YouTube channel Emergency Awesome. Where's that guy been all these years? I haven't had an Emergency Awesome video pop up for me in like a decade, it feels like. But I guess he's still relevant enough to garner James Gunn's interview here as he gave us a little bit of an update in regards to 2 projects that some people have been definitely asking and talking about here. So let's see what James Gunn has to say in regards to the Waller television series, along with Batman Brave and the Bold. First up, we will go ahead and bring up, let's just get the Amanda Waller series out of the way while I pull up this article for you guys. This is going to come to us from Yahoo Entertainment that grabbed this news, I believe, from superherohype.com. But Amanda Waller series is back in the news. This week, saying James Gunn recently opened up about the status of the long in development television series about Amanda Waller. Speaking with Charlie on his Emergency Awesome YouTube channel, he was asked about it. According to Schneider, Gunn said that the scripts were still being worked on and that the series would address a handful of things about the character. According to Gunn, Schneider noted that the show will follow what Waller has been up to during the events of DC Studios' Superman movie, the second season of Peacemaker, and the follow-up to Superman, Man of Tomorrow. The comments from Gunn come in just a few weeks after he provided another update on the show. During Peacemaker Season 2 red carpet premiere, he stated that even though the work has begun on Amanda Waller's series, several other projects have taken precedence over the series since. He says, we're working, again, this was a couple of weeks ago, we're working on it, but some things have moved really fastly and some things not so fast. And that's been the thing that hasn't moved so fast. But I can't wait to see Viola get her Waller outfits on with her shitty floral dresses and do something special, he said at the time. So yeah, he just reconfirms that the scripts are still being worked on and that it would deal with a handful of events after Superman, Peacemaker Season 2, and the follow-up to Man of Tomorrow. So, to me, this is kind of reassuring in the sense, like, look, I'm just glad that this series still exists, to be frank with you. I'm a big fan of Viola Davis. I don't feel like I've actually seen a lot of Viola Davis. I think I had Marcelino comment something the other day about on Facebook about how some people are getting tired of Viola Davis because she seems to be like everywhere. Like similar to how people are starting to feel about like Tom Holland and Pedro Pascal and some of these other big actors. I don't think she gets the same play like other actors personally. Like she's only had one movie released this month. I feel like I can count like Pedro Pascal movies on like two hands for 2025 and maybe even 2024. Like Pedro Pascal is everywhere. I think an actor that does one, maybe two movies a year, or released in a year, I don't think that's oversaturation whatsoever. So for me, especially if it's the idea of her having to return to reprise her role and play this character, I'm completely on board with it. If that's the direction that if she's willing to come back, I personally don't know if I want anybody else to play this particular role. I think she's just that good at what she certainly does. So I'm kind of glad at the idea that this has not fallen to the wayside. Yes, it's clearly been taking its time when it comes to production, but it seems as though like it's one of those scripts that are continuously evolving, right? Like as new things start to fall into place for the DCU, this feels very much like to me, this feels very much like especially with it talking about the idea that it's going to be focusing on Amanda Waller or Man of Tomorrow and Peacemaker Season 2. It does make me wonder, like, how far along in the script are they? Has James Gunn been working with the person um, to bring this particular story to life? um, and like writing Man of Tomorrow at the same time in order to kind of give the writers a new sort of starting off point so they know exactly where to place Amanda Waller and her story. So like to me it almost feels like maybe there's a rewrite that continues to happen as they struggle to kind of nail the story that they want to tell, but then another project releases, and so now maybe they have to kind of continue to go back to the storyboard and say, all right, well, how can we fit the events of what happened here into the bigger scheme of things when it comes to the Amanda Waller story. So it feels like it's a constant development. And at some point in time, I do hope that they're able to catch up to the events of what's happened in the DCU and really just like have a concrete story for what they want. Like, I'm just curious as to what James Gunn wants Amanda Waller's impact to be. When you introduce another organization like this for Checkmate in Peacemaker Season 2, and now you've got um, what's his face? Rick Flag Sr. sort of like, is he the head of Argus? Is that his position right now? Right? Like, where is Amanda Waller during all this time? Like, what is she currently up to? What did the effects of Creature Commandos have on her? I those are all the things that I certainly want to go ahead and find out about. But it does make me wonder how concrete of a plan moving forward does James Gunn have for somebody like Viola Davis as Amanda Waller? Like, there's a part of me that almost feels like after the Amanda Waller series, are we really gonna have anything for Amanda Waller to do? Is it gonna be foreshadowed and taken over by Rick Flag Sr. Kind of going forward, or will Amanda Waller continue to prove her worth and prove why she's in this position sort of in the first place? So that would be my biggest concern, is just the idea of trying to figure out, like, if James Gunn truly knows what he wants to do uh, with this character. So we'll definitely have to see. Outside of that, we also have Brave New World, or the Brave and the Bold. Brave New World, excuse me. Uh, the Brave and the Bold, that's in the news here this week, as he also talked and gave us a little bit of an update in regards to that as well. Let me see if I can pull this up here for you guys. This one is also from Entertainment, Yahoo Entertainment. My system's being a little bit slow right now, y'all. I'm sorry. It says James Gunn reveals status of Brave and the Bold, the DCU movie. According to the YouTube channel Emergency Awesome, he interviewed yada yada yada. He recently interviewed Gunn. No actor has been cast as Batman / Bruce Wayne in the DCU as of yet. I'm still trying to figure out if I believe that or not. And I only say that because I'm really hoping that there is I'm really hoping and praying that there's some type of Batman cameo for the Clayface movie at the end. Even if it's just a brief, I personally would love to see it, unless they go the route of like what they did with Creature Commandos, and he's literally like a silhouette, like just a shadow or something like that, to end the movie. But I am crossing my fingers and hoping that this is a line he's trying to keep it as close to his chest as possible. Because if he pops up in Clayface, I really do believe that that means that he's been officially cast. But according to Gunn, he's saying that no actor has been cast yet for the role. He says that's not surprisingly terrible, given that The Brave and the Bold does not yet have a release date for Warner Brother Pictures. Though it is worth mentioning that it's unclear if the Dark Knight first appearance will be in The Brave and the Bold, or if he'll show up in another project such as Clayface before that. Emergency Awesome also mentions that they've changed a lot of what the story was going to be since Gunn announced Brave and the Bold a couple of years ago. No other details beyond that were provided, meaning it's unclear what exactly has changed about Brave and the Bold since Gunn provided a description of the project back in 2023. So as of right now, no actor yet for the role, but at the same time, it seems as though the script has certainly had some significant changes since The Brave and the Bold was officially announced. Now, if you recall, when it was initially announced, I do believe that they talked about the idea that that they wanted this to be sort of like a Bat family film, in the sense that maybe Damian Wayne was going to be the Robin for this movie. And that he would be accompanied by maybe other Bat family relatives, right? Like when James Gunn talks about the idea that this universe has already existed, many humans have been around for 300 years, it kind of insinuates that Batman has had several Robins in his life, and there's a Nightwing, maybe Tim Drake Red Robin out there somewhere, right? Maybe there's a Jason Todd Red Hood in this universe somewhere, right? Like those were all implied, I think, when he talks about Damian Wayne being the Robin when it was first announced for Brave and the Bold. I've seen some people speculate already with the changes, meaning that they believe that Damian Wayne will not be in this movie in any way. I don't know if that necessarily means that they're trying to go back, like, if we're going to go back to, one Robin only, if we're trying to, maybe not make a Bat family here, but, it makes sense. James Gunn has been very open about the idea that they've been trying to crack this story for quite some time. That he himself, he apparently has a writer on board that has not been announced as to who's writing this project as of yet. But apparently, he's been working really hard with this writer to kind of crack, I think, maybe the tone and the type of Batman that they want to have in their universe. Because you can't do the same thing as Matt Reeves, right? Like, you can't make a grounded sort of Batman movie like Matt Reeves is doing. So, tonally, you have to completely change what it is and have a really unique vision for Batman. One of the things that I've always kind of suggested is, since they have not been afraid to tackle the idea of like Superman, the Superman movie, as sort of like, when people see the Superman movie, the first distinction that they make is, man, this feels like the uh, Superman animated series. And when I watch the movie, I can definitely feel that. There's kind of a part of me too that would like to see this Batman movie in the realm of like feeling like the Batman animated series too. Um, dark noir-ish kind of style, but yet at the same time fantastical, you know? Um, it would be interesting to see what that balance is, but I can understand if that's a hard nut to kind of crack, in the sense of all the especially with all the moving pieces that this MCU certainly has. Um, now that you've got Man of Tomorrow that's set to go ahead and drop in 2026, does that drastically change the world of the DCU in a sense to where um, the Batman story also kind of has to change and have to kind of be worked around a little bit also? So it seems like this storyline is continuing to be in flux. I mean, maybe the saving grace for James Gunn is that the Batman Part 2 is gonna be dropping sometime in 2027, maybe. So they have a Batman that people can already focus on, and James Gunn take a little bit more time when trying to make this particular Batman movie work at the end of the day. But it does feel like this one's gonna be quite some time before we actually get to see it happen. So I don't know how much has changed, but it doesn't surprise me that there's constant changes, right? Like, how many versions of the script have they gone through already? Is this their second go round, their third go round before they come to a final script? So the number of how many times they've continued to do this does not surprise me at all. Um, but look, as long as it hasn't been shelved, as long as this is something that they're still openly working on, then I'll take that as a win for sure. But yeah, guys, let me know your thoughts on updates for the Brave and the Bold, along with the Waller television series. What do we have in store for DCU right now? We've got 2026 has Supergirl dropping. I believe we have Lanterns. I am still waiting to see when Lanterns is even gonna drop. I was kind of always under the impression that Lanterns was gonna be a series that releases before Supergirl. Um, but considering that HBO Max, look, well, to be fair, I don't know if have we gotten like a first look at sometimes HBO Max, like as the new year approaches, they like to do this thing where they release like first looks for winter of 2026 or spring of 2026, like the upcoming projects that they're working on. I don't know if we've seen one of those yet with Lanterns highlighted. So, and I also don't know what the special effects work for this series is like. I do think it's kind of telling that we've only seen one released image from Lanterns, and that's them in their um, civilian clothing out on location. But outside of that, I don't recall seeing any other sort of set photos or whatever the case may be. So to me, that kind of insinuates that they're doing a lot of like soundstage filming, maybe even a lot of green screen filming. And it makes me wonder just maybe the sci-fi and fantastical elements to lanterns is a lot more than we certainly think that it is. Not to say that it's still not going to be grounded and we're not going to know of these individuals on a humanistic basis. But I do think that the lack of set photos and things like that tell me that a lot of this stuff that's been filmed has been confined inside of quarters on sets, and in turn maybe could add for more sci-fi elements, if you will. So maybe it's taking them longer to do in post production these episodes, and maybe it's something that ends up releasing in the fall of 2026, not so much maybe before summer of 2026. So we got Lanterns next year, we got Supergirl next year, and then Clayface, which is set to go ahead and drop in the fall, and then after that, Man of Tomorrow, which is 2027 release. Outside of that, we don't really have anything else announced for the next 2027 or 2028 going forward. So maybe that's where Waller and things like Batman, and maybe some other upcoming television shows and projects. Like, I don't know when the Mr. Miracle animated series is set to drop, which I'm assuming is going to be within the DCU also to look forward to. We got Dynamic Duo, which I think is 2028. I think that would be kind of cool if you're able to release Dynamic Duo in 2028 along with the DCU Batman and make 2028 really the year of the bat. I think that would actually be pretty legit. But we'll see. We'll see when these projects come out. But it's always pleasant to hear that they're constantly being worked on, and they certainly have not been completely forgotten about. But yeah, guys, let me know your thoughts in regards to this, and if you're looking forward to any of those particular projects. With that out of the way, we will move on to our next topic, as we're going to stick in the realm of Warner Brothers, as Warner Brothers is in fact back in the news here this week, specifically because there is a purchase on the rise, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. Warner Brothers is back in the news this week, as it seems as though it's officially up for sale. That's right. You heard me correctly. Warner Brothers is officially up for sale. This news comes to us from the NBC News this week. Let's see. Why is this not working for me? Sorry, guys. My internet's tripping out on me again. I'm trying to get this border back up. All right, my internet's tripping on me, so it's not letting me pull up these articles the way that I personally would like to. But NBC News this week has reported that Warner Brothers Discovery puts itself up for sale. Warner Brothers Discovery, the owner of HBO, CNN, and other streaming and studio businesses, said Tuesday it is putting itself up for sale. In a press release, the company announced a review of strategic alternatives to maximize shareholder value, which is Wall Street speak for sale. Warner Brothers Discovery said it had recently received unsolicited interest from multiple parties for both the entire company and Warner Brothers alone. Warner Brothers Discovery houses a variety of media businesses, from cable networks and news outlets to popular franchises, movie studios, and streaming platforms. The company also holds the rights to broadcast range of sports internationally, from the Olympics and the French Open in Europe to the Premier League in the UK. The company said that while it shops itself around, it will continue to work on the previously announced split of its cable networks from its streaming studio businesses. Warner Brothers shares surged on the news, rising more than 10%. Any deal for part of all the company would be a sizable one. Warner Brothers Discovery had a market value of more than $45 billion, and also carries billions of dollars in debt on its balance sheet. So yeah, this would cost a pretty penny. Comcast, which owns NBC, NBC Universal, is one of the many companies likely to take a look at Warner Brothers Discovery assets. Two people familiar with the matter told NBC News, but the company currently has a high bar for a deal, they said. And they're not lying in that regards. According to the Wrap here today, actually back on the 22nd, so about 4 days ago, Warner Brothers Discovery rejected 3 different Paramount takeover bids. The first offer, I believe, was like $21 that we talked about a while ago. $21 per share. The latest offer apparently came in at $24 per share. And they said, don't want it. Warner Brothers rejected 3 separate takeover bids from Paramount, including one for nearly $24 per share. That was 80% cash and 20% stock. So yeah, they continue to turn them down, but it seems very open to still happening. There are a couple of people in the race. I've seen Apple's name suggested. NBC's name has certainly been suggested. I think they've talked a little bit about Netflix possibly being in the running also, even though the Netflix guy recently came out and said, like we're not doing this. Like we have no interest in doing this right now. Whether or not you want to, I mean, this is like the second time that I feel like I've heard Netflix not have interest in purchasing it, yet their name continues to pop up in these bids. So right now it seems like there are actually 4 competitors. So I believe Amazon's name even got thrown into the mix also. So let's just talk about Apple, Amazon, NBC, and Paramount, because those look like those are the people that are going to be really keeping their eye on this actually happening. I don't want Netflix, and if you were to ask me, I don't want Paramount either. I do not want Paramount. Paramount literally just spent billions of dollars, or I should say, Skydance spent billions of dollars to go ahead and purchase Paramount. And the owner of Paramount right now in Skydance, David Ellison, him and his daddy are like the richest people in the world, some of the richest people in the world. And mergers I'm just over mergers, to be quite frank with you. Like, if I don't want Warner Brothers to sell at all. Like, I really don't. I think they've got a good thing working for them right now. 2025 has been a fantastic year for them financially. I think when it comes to the box office, if we're talking about the box office, Mike DeLuca, Pam Abdi, James Gunn, they've been knocking out some good movies, some great movies. And so for me, when I hear the concept of merger, the only thing that I think about, honestly, is Ram Jim says, has Disney shown interest to buy Warner Brothers? I don't believe so. I personally haven't seen it, but I could be wrong. But when I think of mergers, I just think of people being out of a job, people getting fired, the creativity continuing to be minimized. The studios used to feel distinctly different from each other, right? Like the movies that studios produced, like Warner Brothers movies felt different from Paramount movies. Paramount movies felt different from Universal movies. Universal movies feel different from like A24 movies, right? Like all these different production companies have a particular vision and a particular creative flow in regards to the type of movies that they want to be able to make and bring to the big screen. And when you start consolidating all these studios and start merging them into one, creatively, it's really going to all start feeling the same. And who's going to be the one to control the message of all the movies that are being made and put out there, right? Like, if you've got one person that's doing Skydance and Paramount and Warner Brothers, like that just feels like monopolizing the the just that area of entertainment. And I just think it's horrible for the business and the company. And when you've got somebody like, and I know that this is bad for the movie industry. You want to know how I know it's bad for the movie industry? Because the movies aren't even their main concern. In a press release, Warner Brothers Discovery said the company announced a review of strategic alternatives to what? To make better movies? No, to maximize shareholder value. They just want to put more money in their pockets, man. That's it. That's it. That's it. It has nothing to do with creative freedoms. It's got nothing to do with let's make better movies. It's got nothing to do with like we want to give the consumer a better like experience at the movies or television shows at home or through our streaming. Nothing about the consumer is announced here. No. A review of strategic alternatives to maximize shareholder, but that's what it's always about. They don't HBO Max, boom, price rise. Streaming service rise. Paramount, price rise, boom. On your streaming service, paying more. Why? To maximize shareholder value. It's all about making money. Like this idea of like, this isn't about movies. This isn't about the consumer. It isn't about giving you quality production on anything. This is just all about who's connected with these industries, who actually has stock in our companies, and let's make them as rich as we possibly can, and let's just dilute the shit out of everything else that we touch. Like that's all it is. That's all it is. And it's sad that we're at this point. So, like I said, if there's anybody that I would like to see pick this up, I'm open to NBC. I'm even open to Apple. But outside of that, no, I don't want anybody else to touch this. I don't want Amazon. Jeff Bezos don't need it. The man is rich enough as it is. You know, Apple at least puts out great quality television series, and they put out some really good. Like Apple seems legit in regards to truly wanting to not only build their library but legit make good quality movies and television shows and products for the market, for consumers in that regards. Um, Same thing with, I would be okay with that when it comes to NBC trying to do that also. I just don't want Netflix. I don't want Paramount, especially after Skydance just purchased them. They already legit just had a merger. And I don't want Amazon because Amazon already just purchased MGM Studios. They're purchasing a bunch of great rights to classic television shows and stuff that I used to love, making them into television series. Like there's just creativity and the ability to be able to make something genuinely that feels different from everything else that we're intaking as audiences, I think is just as important. So, yeah, I hope this doesn't happen. Sounds like it's going to happen. It is going to happen regardless. The question is just going to be who's going to purchase it, and will that purchase be good for business? So we'll see what happens. And again, because this is a thing, and I have to bring it up, because this is a thing, Warner Brothers officially being on sale. Mike DeLuca, Pam Abdi, James Gunn, Peter Safran, you're all on the clock now. You're all on the clock. And that includes, will whoever purchases this company want to keep them around? And there's a big question mark now in regards to what the future of these people are going to hold. I don't know if they've had any insight word yet as to, hey, you're going to be fired. I don't think they even know. I am kind of curious as to how long James Gunn's contract currently is. And if it is, I was reading somewhere that his contract expires in like November of 2026 or something like that. Like, bro, you might be on the chopping block. Do I think it's affirmative? No, I don't. But I do think it's a possibility more and more each day now that Warner Brothers is up for sale. We'll see, guys. We'll see what happens here. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. Warner Brothers officially up for sale. Somebody's gonna buy this bad boy. Who will it be? Can I get to some really exciting news though, which I'm really kind of doped about this, to be frank with you. Now look, to be fair, I've been a fan of the recent Transformer movies. Blue Beetle, I had a good time with. Rise of the Beast, I even had a good time with, to the point of really curious as to where Paramount, is it Paramount? Yeah, I believe it's Paramount. Sort of plan to take this franchise kind of going forward. And ever since Rise of the Beast, I've been very much expecting that G.I. Joe and Transformers movie that they've been really sort of hyping us up for years, but have yet to like finalize or actually come up with a legit script that's been greenlit. And so we're just kind of in this weird hiatus of like, what do they do with Transformers right now? There might be something coming that might light the fire under some live action stuff, but we'll definitely get the animated stuff rolling for two big franchises, and that's Transformers and G.I. Joe. And that is, in fact, the official announcement of the Energon universe. That's right, the Energon universe. According to Deadline, an Energon Universe adult animated series based on the comic from Hasbro and Skybound, with Joe Henderson as showrunners, is hitting the TV marketplace. Now, Robert Kirkman's Skybound Entertainment has teamed up with Hasbro Entertainment to produce Energon Universe, an adult animated series based on the comics of the same name created by Robert Kirkman, who also did Invincible, who also did The Walking Dead, and published by Skybound. Joe Henderson from Lucifer is attached to write the adaptation and serve as the showrunner on the series, an epic crossover of G.I. Joe, Transformers, and Void Rivals mythology, which is expected to taken out to buyers shortly. That's right. The Energon universe has gone from comic book to reality, being helmed and brought in through Robert Kirkman's studio, animated studio, and giving us an animated series here. This is like what I wish Hasbro would do with Boom Studios. Like, why isn't Boom Studios and Hasbro teaming up to come up with a really dope ass like Power Rangers animated series? But regardless, let's not talk about Power Rangers at this time, because it is time to talk Transformers and G.I. Joe. Despite featuring the family-friendly Hasbro characters G.I. Joe and Transformers, the Energon Universe series will be broad with adult sensibility in the vein of Kirkman's gritty and adult animated series Invincible, based on his comic, which has been a hit for Prime Video, renewed for season 5 of its ahead of its season 4 premiere next March. Kirkman, a Transformers and G.I. Joe fan since childhood, won the comic book publishing rights to signature Hasbro brand in 2021. He went on to create a cohesive, shared universe in which Transformers and G.I. Joe coexist together alongside original IP Void Rivals, which Kirkman co-created with Lorenza de Felicia. 2 years in, Energon has become one of Hasbro's best-selling comic book lines ever. Over 7 million combined units sold worldwide. It launched in 2023 with Void Rivals. which featured the surprise appearance of Transformers character Jetfire on the final page. That was followed by the release of Transformers and 4 G.I. Joe character-focused miniseries, leading to the tentpole G.I. Joe series, which launched in 2024. With Transformers 1, G.I. Joe 1, Void Rivals 1, all setting sales records. So they went ahead and created this huge comic book universe led by Robert Kirkman. And now they're taking this universe and they're turning it into an adult animated series. Dude, I am so excited for this. I am sort of this outside of the hunt for Ben Solo. This might be my favorite news of the week. I'm not even gonna lie, because it does a couple of things. Okay. Actually, do me a favor. Bear with me. I got to get my charger real quick because my phone is dying. Think about this real quick. Okay. All right, I'm back. I'm gonna take a swig of my coffee here real quick though. Whoever has the live action rights to so this is he's taking a Skybound Entertainment, teaming up with Hasbro Entertainment. At this point, I'm just thinking to myself, like, can we just give Robert Kirkman all of can we just give him all of Transformers right now? Can we just give him all of the G.I. Joe IP to work on, animated and live action? Because I'm gonna tell you this right now. If this is successful, this should light a fire under somebody's ass to make Transformers and G.I. Joe crossover live action a reality. And if there's anybody that should be able to like helm this at this point in time, it's probably Robert Kirkman. I mean, the man has done a lot of great things when it comes to creating comic books. It's been great when it comes to doing his Invincible thing. I believe he also with The Walking Dead and stuff, which is live action. Like, and give this man the property now. Like, give the rights over to this man. Like, put him in charge of putting this stuff all together. Isn't Robert Kirkman the one that's doing all the Star Trek stuff right now too? Hold on. Am I tripping? Is he? Or maybe I'm thinking of I just feel like Robert Kirkman's got his hands in everything right now. Let me see. I'm gonna IMBD this dude. Just so I'm not tripping. Okay. So he was a writer for Invincible, The Walking Dead, Fear of the Walking Dead, all the Walking Dead stuff that you could possibly imagine he's been a part of. So yeah, this guy could easily do Transformer stuff if he wanted to. Executive producer, Walking Dead. Yeah, dude. I at this point, I'm sold. Like, I'm sold. Maybe not the Star Trek stuff. I might be wrong in that. Maybe I'm thinking about somebody else off the top of my head. But yeah, Robert Kirkman seems to have cracked the code here. Maybe it's easier because it's animation, right? And who knows what the budget for something like GI Joe and Transformers certainly might be. I don't think that shied um, them away from doing something like the Rise of Beast, the Rise of the Beast, um, where they hinted at GI Joe, but based off of what the main actor was able to do with his like Transformers like suit on and stuff. Yeah, I'm sure they'll probably put over a pretty penny if the script and the characters and action is great. So my thing is like, look, whoever owns the rights for the live action Transformer stuff right now, if you're really having a tough time and trying to crack the code to making GI Joe and Transformers a live action thing, go to Robert Kirkman, please. Why is he not a creative consultant already? If he's been able to do what you want to do in the realm of comic books and now in live action, there's no reason why this man should not be shepherding in your Transformer stuff for you kind of going forward. I'm just being dead ass honest. So we'll see how this goes. There's no release date yet set for this animated series, but I do think that this is exactly what needs to happen in order for the reality of a GI Joe and Transformers crossover in live action to actually happen. I think this is going to be the catalyst. And look, I was actually considering picking up a Transformers comic book recently because not only was it written by Robert Kirkman, but I do believe Dan Mora, one of the hottest writers, one of the hottest artists right now, currently working, I think did like issue number 25 or something like that recently, or one of the most recent issues. I don't know if he's coming on as like full-time artist or not. But I'm all on board, man. I may just start picking up some Transformers and GI Joe comics just so I know what's going on in this Energon universe. But it just seems really, if it's been selling really well comic book wise, I think there's something there for us when it comes to animated series. So maybe he'll teach them how to do it right. We'll see. Some people want, this is going back a little bit. Marcelina says some people want Universal to buy Warner Brothers just saying get rid of Hulk movie rights and give them back to Marvel. That would be fantastic. I know Mark Ruffalo would love that. I know one merger people want to see happen is Disney buying Sony just so they get back Spider-Man rights. I would be 100% on board with that. Ram Jam says Energon Universe animated. I would watch that. Why couldn't they do something with Power Rangers, Shattered Grid, or Power Rangers Prime Comic? That's what I'm talking about, right? Like if you literally have Hasbro Entertainment teaming up with another comic book like studio, and animated studio to bring this to life, like why can't they do that with Boom Studios? Why can't you create Power Rangers live action? Or not Power Rangers live, but Power Rangers animated series. It's literally right there for you guys. I just don't get it, dude. I just don't get it. But I do want this Energon universe to certainly work. But let me know your thoughts. All right, guys. And with that out of the way, I do want to transition over. Well, not really Marvel talk. This is kind of like old Marvel talk in the sense of Fox Marvel. Did you guys ever get the opportunity to see the film The New Mutants? This was like one of the last movies to be released from Fox Marvel Universe prior to the merger with Disney. This movie had everything pushing against it, not just the merger, which delayed the film itself, but then also I think it had to deal with the pandemic and like not even being able to. I don't think this movie even got a theatrical release, did it, or did it wait for the pandemic to settle down before it was actually released in theaters? I think it was just a lot of missed opportunities. So it had the merger to deal with, then it had the pandemic to certainly deal with. And when the movie was released, didn't do so well. It did not do so well. I am kind of curious if you guys have had the opportunity to check out the New Mutants. Josh Boone, I believe, was the writer and director behind this film, who was a big New Mutants fan. And leading up to production and talking about production and things like that, I can't remember if they took this to San Diego Comic Con and the cast was there or not, but the way they talked about it was you could tell the love and care that Josh Boone had for the New Mutants and what it was that he was trying to achieve. Unfortunately, it did not happen the way that he certainly wanted to. It was not well received whatsoever. And the reason why we're talking about it is because this week he has come out and talked about further the putting this movie together. This comes to us from the direct. Um, this is the New Mutants director slams his own Marvel movie experience. So unfulfilling, is what he says in an exclusive article here. Let me see something. I can't find it. There was another article from like way back in 2020. Um, but anyway, let's talk about this right now. So this is the New Mutants is one of the past decade's most poorly reviewed Marvel movies. But even the writer and director Josh Boone had some poor things to say about it. 20th Century Fox tried making a mutants themed horror flick with the New Mutants, which featured characters from the comics team of the same name. Unfortunately, the movie only received a 36% on Rotten Tomatoes from critics. Fans shared that sentiment as the film only has a 55% audience score, so about 50-50 enjoyed the film. The New Mutants writer slammed his movie, saying it was unfulfilling. In a recent interview with the direct while promoting his upcoming movie, Regretting You, Boone pulled back the curtain on how harrowing production was for New Mutants. This is what he says. He says, it's so hard because it was so traumatic. The studio was sold and we hit a pandemic. The studio was sold during the shooting. And then the pandemic happened when they decided to release it. And it just was such a I had a wonderful time. I love the cast so much, but making that, it took so many years and it was so unfulfilling ultimately. The direct mentioned to Boone that Marvel Studios will be exploring mutants more in the near future of the MCU, asking him if he'd be interested in making a return to the comic book movie world. He says, we didn't really get to make the movie we wanted to make. We made half the movie we wanted to make, and the release was so compromised by the pandemic. I'd rather just never do it again, just to be honest. So, that's horrible of experience. But my man is just like, dude, I really want like nothing to do with having to make this type of movie just sort of like ever again. Um, there were a lot of changes to this movie from past recent reports. Um, I don't know. Give me a second. Uh, Let me see something here. Do I still have this article? Let me see. Let me see if I can locate this real quick. Oh, here we go. Just some additional insight into this movie for you guys. Um, Let me pull up this other article. He clearly had a horrible experience making it. And back in 2020, he detailed it a little bit also. Josh Boone details how Fox Disney merger affected the New Mutants and how movies are an essential service. Um, Let me see. I hadn't thought about it that way, but you're right. Casting older people to play yada yada yada. How do you make a personal film such a corporate? How do you make a personal film within such a corporate structure? Because I would say the most difficult projects are the ones with the biggest IPs where you need the most money. The ones become the ones, those ones become the ones that have a lot more involvement than anything else. The shooting of this movie, 70% of it really wasn't much different than The Fault of Our Stars. And then 25% involving special effects was just sort of making movies in slow motion and trying to get everything right. Making it with the studio was an interesting experience. They're so different from you. Like when you're the artist in the room, you're always going to relate much more to your cast, to your producers, and to your creatives. It's just a different experience. You're trying to work your dream and vision of this thing through corporate system. It's unemotional, and you have a lot of emotions attached to it. They don't really. It's really bit more of a business for them in that way, but you have to be that passionate to be able to make the movie. For us, it started out as a much bigger idea, and we kind of cut the budget in half to get to the movie that we're at. It was more elaborate originally and was less contained in one location. We did things, hopefully clever things, like trying to take one of our favorite childhood horror movies, A Nightmare on Elm Street, and use that idea of kids in a psychiatric institute to do this iconic storyline in the comics that we love so much that's containable in a movie. Well, how do you even go about learning to direct action sequences? A handful, storyboarding, everything, yada yada yada. The movies we're getting reflects the ones you set out to make, though I don't have to tell you that there have been obviously been reports of many different directions some others wanted to pull the film. So often that gets framed as something negative, but I'm curious, is there any upside to having to consider many different avenues and turns for the film? Is the New Mutant stronger because you had to iterate so much and hold firm to the core of what you think works? He says it's funny because there wasn't a lot of wrestling over cuts. I always use the same editors. They've been my editors since the first movie. Our cut on the movie that we made was probably 75% done when the merger happened, but almost none of the visual effects were done and none of the sound design were done. So I came back to it. My guys were already cutting other films. Um, Let me see. Getting that year gap in between seeing it then and seeing it now, the thing that was most surprising was that I liked it. I was like, if all it takes is not seeing your movie for a year or two, like it again, and actually really believe that it's good. And that's what you need because we really did fall in love with it again. And we did little bit of things to try and free it from the pre-merger plans that Fox had for the X-Men franchise that were cooked into our movie when we shot it. We never got a chance to reshoot or even do pickups, which 95% of movies do. It was all sort of frozen in limbo. And everyone went to go work on the Dark Phoenix because it cost so much, because the cast was so lucrative. Even though our movie tracked better, had way higher amounts of people looking at the trailer than they ever did Dark Phoenix. It was all hands on deck because the movie was supposed to be two movies. And when the merger happened, all those plans sort of went to the wayside. So everybody had to mess to clean up to some degree or another to make the movie sellable and able to put out in the world. Mine, much less than Dark Phoenix, because we didn't have to change very much to complete it. We just had to not do the post credit scene, yada, yada, yada. So, oops, sorry, y'all. My shit fell on me. So, look, I will say, I had the opportunity to rewatch New Mutants again last night. I told myself, I was like, you know what? If I'm gonna talk about this New Mutants movie, I want to go ahead and have the opportunity to rewatch it, and I did. Um, there are elements to this movie that really work for me. I'm not gonna even lie to you guys. Um, I was a big fan of the cast. Um, Let me actually pull up the everybody on the cast here. Give me a second. Mutants cast. I will say, and not to say that this movie felt dated, but it felt very much like this. You definitely knew when this movie was getting ready to release, because you had Maisie Williams from Game of Thrones, and I feel like this was like fresh off of her time at off of Game of Thrones. Same thing with Charlie Heaton, who was in the Stranger Things series. This might have been like after seasons 1 or 2. I can't remember how many seasons of Stranger Things we might have gotten, but the fact that we had these two actors come off of two big popular shows, I think shows the time period that we lived in. And then you had Anya Taylor-Joy, who played Ilyana Rasputin in here. I didn't mind Blue Hunt so much as Danny. Henry Zaga was okay as Roberto. I did like a Alice Braga as the Dr. Reyes in here. So like for me, this movie works in the sense of the cast. Um, I really enjoyed everybody's story, their backstory, how they kind of dealt with what got them into this psychiatric ward. The concept of them being stuck in the psychiatric ward definitely had like some horror elements intertwined in there with that really worked. I even think the special effects in this movie were remarkable. Seeing the bear fight sequence towards the end, Sunspot's abilities, Cannonball's abilities, even Ileana when she pulls out her sword and Lockheed and teleports into like this alternate dimension. Like the cast and their characters were great, I thought, and so was the special effects. To me, this movie falls to the wayside with the script. I don't necessarily felt it was necessarily the strongest. Like the idea of making this movie's been out for a while, so if you haven't seen this movie yet, this is on you. So I'm not even gonna put up a spoiler warning, okay? But like the trajectory in which they took the Doctor, I found fascinating, like and not fascinating in a good way, but like scratching my head a little bit. The teasing of the Essex Foundation or Essex Institute to emphasize Mr. Sinister has something to do with this there. This also then felt like this was also like I don't want to say a continuation of Logan, but I felt like they might have even used like when Danny goes into this dream state or she gets into the mindset of the Doctor and she is able to see other mutants in like detention centers being moved around by soldiers and stuff. It definitely reminded me a lot of what Laura went through in Logan that they kind of showcased in T. So it felt like maybe there was some camaraderie there in regards to storyline that didn't really get wasn't able to get further explored because of the merger and things like that. Um, so while I think that they did a good job at hinting at things like Essex and stuff, like if you're just going to give me Essex Institute stuff, just give me Mr. Sinister as the villain in this movie. Like the idea that they had to utilize somebody like Cecilia Reyes, who in the comic books is actually a hero. Um, they made her a villain in this particular case to kind of run this psychiatric ward for somebody like Mr. Sinister. I just wish that that aspect of stuff was kind of more explored because it just kind of left things up to the imagination and never really gave it its own kind of finalized stamp as to who the true villain behind all of this kind of was. You know what I mean? So plus, it was kind of slow moving. Also, the pacing I wasn't necessarily a big fan of. The idea that yes, this movie literally is taking place in like just one location practically, or at least on like a very small estate that yeah they may go to a couple buildings here or there. To have something so confined in just one location the entirety of the movie didn't necessarily work for me. The soundtrack was really piss poor. It was like practically no soundtrack whatsoever to this movie. It just felt very quiet and very reliant upon the performances and the dialogue, but everything else is just relatively quiet with the exception of like the action sequences that we got. So I do think that there's some good things in here. The character relationships, the character backstories, the performances from the characters, great stuff. But outside of that and the special effects and action that we do get in this movie, everything else needed a massive and huge improvement. And I don't know again if that's based off of how much time was spent in the editing room to edit this movie better, what was post-production like in regards to, did you get screwed out of having great soundtrack and great sound mixing for this because everybody else got put onto other projects that they had to worry about? Was there, I did hear somewhere in one of the articles I had previously read that there was um, pushback in regards to who the villain of the movie should be. And if that is the case, I can totally tell when I'm watching this movie that it feels a little incoherent. That the idea of the doctor being evil maybe not necessarily was the original plan, but eventually turned into the plan. Um, I could see what Josh Boone wanted to do. The execution was just piss poor, and maybe some of that is on him, and maybe some of that is certainly on the studio aspect of things. So I can see why it maybe got a 55%. I kind of feel like that might actually be a. I think the 55% score for audiences is more fair than the 30 something percent critics wind up getting. I didn't mind the movie. Like after I watched it, I didn't think to myself, God, that was awful. I just thought to myself, like, yeah, it could have been better, but I enjoyed the elements of it for sure. But I want to know what you guys think. Did you guys ever see New Mutants? If you so, what did you guys think? I will won the hunt for Ben October. I love it. Marcelo says, I hear people say Anya Taylor-Joy was the only good thing in the movie. No, I actually really like Sam as I actually like Sam in this movie. Or Charlie Heaton. I actually was a big fan of Maisie Williams in this movie too. Um, Her backstory, along with her friendship that she grows with Danny in here, I think really worked for me. You know, I think Anya Taylor Joy gets the most praise just because she's just, first off, she's just so good as an actress, and then she gets like the coolest character to play in this movie. And she shows her worth, man. She absolutely shows her worth. So I enjoyed it in that. I heard Sunspot was literally tacked on and didn't contribute to anything. I don't know if he was tacked on because look, Sunspot in the New Mutants is a forming figure. Like he is a forming member of it. And with Josh Boone being such a big fan of the New Mutants, I'm pretty sure Sunspot always had a place in here and necessarily wasn't just tacked on. But I do understand the idea if he didn't really contribute much to anything. I mean, when his powers activate towards the end, it's really great to see. Um, they really lean on the story of like his parents, family, family's rich. His parents, shunned him because of the fact that he was a mutant, but it also highlights like what he did to put himself to get himself into this. And then even in the final battle sequence, when I wanted more Sunspot, he really wasn't there. So I don't know if he was tacked on so much as they just really didn't utilize him correctly in this movie. What did you think of the main villain was the Demon Bear? I always thought the main villain was the Doctor Lady. Um, I mean, technically, the way that they made the Doctor Lady, yes, she definitely was like a villain of it. Um, Whereas the manifestation of the demon bear definitely was also played the role as the villain. Oh, I don't want to say the demon bear. So, I mean, you could probably say Danny was the villain of this movie if we go that route, simply because she is the one based off of her abilities that wind up infiltrating everybody's mind and really causes sort of like the most pain to everybody throughout this movie. And then when she does fall into that deep slumber that the doctor puts her in and induces her into, that's really where the bear kind of comes into play. So the concept of the bear being your fear as somebody's biggest villain, I think is a really great one in the sense of having to overcome your own personal fears. So like the storyline is there, the execution of the doctor and the role that she played and being connected to Mr. Sinister's institute really all convoluted that stuff. The idea of like the doctor was definitely a villain, right? Like I don't think she was necessarily there to help them. in the sense of you're going to go on to become a mutant that becomes successful and helps the X-Men, so much as she was there to help allow them to control their abilities and in turn use them to then go out and kill people like Mr. Sinister would have preferred for them to be able to be. And then when Danny's power doesn't manifest exactly the way that Sinister and Dr. Reyes expects, the idea of putting her down like she's some ill or diseased kind of animal or dog, that's very villainous to me, right? So I think you could say, um, to a certain extent, the main villain clearly being the Essex Institute for the terrible way that they wanted to utilize utilize these mutants, but also Danny's powers manifesting in such a way that then caused really all the pain and horror and torment for all these kids in the institute, and then formalizing itself in the demon bear. Like that, I think that's a fair assessment too. But I think it's not just one or the other. I think they both certainly played a big role. Marcia says, honestly, I kind of like the idea that the main villain was a human doctor. It put a new twist on the superhero genre, not just using a traditional supervillain, but I wish they did it better. To be fair, the doctor is human, but the doctor is also, well, I'll let you see it for yourself. Because I don't care how bad the movie is, I will see it one day. I definitely recommend you check it out for yourself and come up to your your own um your own feelings about the movie. Um, like I said, I there were aspects about it that I enjoyed. Other ones just really fell to the wayside for me. I do wish that this movie had more time to develop because I found myself after watching the movie thinking to myself, I really would like to see how these characters grow and where these characters would have eventually gone forward as a team. And I didn't get the opportunity to see any of that, which was just unfortunate. But let me know your guys' thoughts. The director, not a big fan of his own movie, or at least the Marvel movie experience in regards. But I feel like that's becoming almost like a norm. Nia DaCosta's talked about it, right? Um, but I think it's just this idea too of like coming from a particular genre of filmmaking, still being kind of small in your craft, and then being thrusted into these big IP productions, and how the executives really help mold and shape what the final cut of your film is really going to be like, and not having that sort of power to have that ownership of a film, along with the idea of dealing with the pandemic and stuff at the time. I'm sure that's would have been a struggle for anybody at that time. So really unfortunate for the New Mutants, but it is what it is. Let me know what you guys think about it. And then last but not least, our last story of the day before we get into our live viewer questions. I thought this was one to certainly celebrate for sure. Stuart and I talked about this last week in regards to the series finale and how big this was going to be for streaming services, considering that Stranger Things really felt like the starting point for unique, groundbreaking, creative streaming storytelling that everybody like. I feel like Stranger Things helped bring in the concept of binging television shows, in the sense that this show was so good that everybody just binged television at the time. And this was such a zeitgeist moment. I put it up there with Lost and Game of Thrones and now Stranger Things in regards to having to say farewell to a series after such a long time. One of the things that we talked about was, how are they going to celebrate the series finale? Would they have the opportunity to show this on a big screen, like a theatrical release? And at the time, when we talked about it, Netflix very openly suggested People watch Stranger Things because they want to watch it at home, because it's on Netflix, because it's a streaming service. Like, it's not going to take away from the enjoyment of fans to watch the series finale the way that they have always watched the rest of their program, and really hinted at the idea that the concept of a theatrical release was not going to happen. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've got some backpedaling that's happening here because this week the Hollywood Reporter is letting us know Stranger Things series finale officially coming to theaters, despite its previous statements. That's right, the streamer has confirmed that the finale will be in theaters after previously seeming to shoot down the idea amid show's creators. Maybe Netflix watches my show. Maybe Netflix heard the pushback that me and Stuart were giving them in regards to, hey, this would be a great idea. This is not going to hurt your bottom dollar in any way. This is just a way to celebrate with fans, to see the spectacle that is Stranger Things. Incredible sound, incredible special effects, characters that we've been attached to on the big screen. This would not hurt you at all. And it seems as though Netflix agrees. Netflix previously stated plan to not release the series finale on Stranger Things has been turned upside down. The streamer announced on Thursday that the highly anticipated feature-length ending of the coming-of-age sci-fi hit will get a theatrical release after all. The screening of the season 5 closer will take place in more than 350 theaters in the U.S. and Canada starting New Year's Eve at 5 p.m. Pacific time. So that would be 3 p.m. Central time, 2 p.m. Eastern time, to the finale's global premiere on Netflix, and will run through January 1st. He says, we're beyond excited that fans will have the chance to experience the final episode of Stranger Things in theaters. It's something we've dreamed about for years, and we're so grateful to Ted, Bella, and everyone at Netflix for making it happen, is what the Duffer Brothers said. Getting to see it on the big screen with incredible sound, picture, and room full of fans feels like the perfect, dare we say, bitchin' way to celebrate the end of this adventure. However, the creators of Netflix said to Variety in a story published earlier this month that the show would not get a theatrical release, with the trade noting the executive shot down the idea when it was mentioned. A lot of people, a lot of people watch it on Netflix. It's not suffered from a lack of conversation or community. While a Duffer added at the same time, people don't get to experience how much time and effort is spent on sound and picture, and they're seeing it at a reduced quality. More than that, it's about experiencing it at the same time with fans. And now here we are. Here we are. It says, no matter how Netflix landed on this decision to put Stranger Things in theater, the move will surely result in some significant box office gains. Given heavy fan interest in the series, it's a win for the Duffers, for fans, and for Netflix, who, if might have been decided a bit begrudgingly, right? Like I said at the time, like, tell me you are not a movie fan while not saying I'm not a movie fan, right? Like, that's just the way that Netflix tends to always promote itself. So the idea that we're now getting this on the big screen, so well deserving. Thank you. Thank you. Even if it is begrudgingly against Netflix will, thank you, Netflix, for certainly doing this. Look, who's going to come out for New Year's Eve release to see this? I hope I can be one of those people. It's only going to be playing in 350 theaters across the US and Canada. So it's going to sound like it's very limited screening. It would not surprise me if it's like a small indie based theaters, maybe even not at your local Cinemark or AMC. We have an Angelica theater out here in Dallas, which is maybe like 30 miles away. I can see them posting something like that. They actually are like the only theater too in this vicinity that has released Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein on the big screen. I have to drive like 30 miles to go ahead and see that movie if I can potentially. So I do expect it to be minimum theaters. But if you are a Stranger Things fan, I'm just going to tell you this because I was a Lost fan that got the opportunity to experience the season finale or the series finale in theaters with fans. It was emotional and a core memory for myself that I was able to establish. And if you can get the opportunity to see the series finale of Stranger Things on the big screen, do yourselves a favor and try and get tickets as soon as they're available, because you will not regret it at all. So thank you, Netflix. Thank you, Duffer Brothers, for fighting for this. It's something that I'm really looking forward to. I'm personally in the middle of my rewatch right now. I'm almost on season 2 of Stranger Things, going through it again. So I'm really looking forward to seeing this happening. It's just funny that we literally talked about this last week, and it's almost like somebody legit heard what we had to say and was like, you know what? I think Adam and Stuart are right on this one. Let's go ahead and release this in theaters. But yeah, guys, let me know what you guys think and what your level of excitement is now for Stranger Things series finale set for a theatrical release. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section box below. And thank you, Ramjam, for reminding me that your live viewer questions were emailed. Give me a second here. Oh, I do see your emails. Okay. All right, let me try and bring up YouTube and do this live viewer question thing. No, that's not what I wanted to do. That's also not what I wanted to. Well, I'm trying to find my posts. Oh, there it is. Okay, there we go. So let us get into our next segment of the day.
And now, everybody, it is time for live viewer questions.
And if you ever want to submit a live viewer question just go over to our YouTube channel, as you see right here. And every Saturday afternoon or Saturday evening, we will make a live viewer question post. Just go to our post tab, and voila, live viewer questions. Let's see what we can tackle here today for you guys. I will start off with Ram Jam first because his questions were emailed, so I just want to get these out of the way for him. What are your thoughts on the recent Ninja Kids Power Rangers web series controversy? I think it's kind of well warranted. Look, I'm of two minds. There's a part of me that kind of feels bad for them because I feel like in their mind, this was really just sort of like a fan-made web series. You know what I mean? I don't know, but but when you start collaborating with big production company studios like Hasbro and stuff, I mean, I just think Hasbro should be giving them the production budget that they need to make this stuff kind of work for them, you know? So there's a part of me that really blames Hasbro for being cheapskates in regards to allowing them to use special effects and VFX appropriately to where they didn't necessarily have to rely on AI to skim by and do cheap production and things like that. The Ninja Kid stuff will probably tell you like, look, this is just a fan-made project, for little kids and stuff. And in that regards, I do feel a little bit bad for them that this is getting all that flack. But I really put the blame at the feet of Hasbro, more than I do Ninja Kids, in the sense of like, just give them the money that they need to make this stuff look good. You know what I'm saying? And now I believe they've delayed this to maybe even further work on special effects and their VFX. So maybe they've decided look, whatever is AI, let's remove it and try and see if we can fix some of this and actually put some extra money towards it. I don't necessarily think that they thought it was going to have the backlash that it did, but I can understand the backlash also. I'm not saying I don't understand the backlash. I just feel bad because it feels like this was really meant to be a fan-made kids series, but the attachment of Hasbro made it into something more than that. And once that happens, then it's like, no, you should be getting the full financial backing for everything that you need and not have to be cheaply using AI in order to kind of get by when people already feel some type of way about AI. And there's a lot of people that worked on this with good intentions, I think. You know what I mean? Um, but it's just unfortunate that it's gone this route. So I'm all for them holding off on it though, if it means actually paying people to work um, and even if the VFX don't look as good as the AI did at the end of the day, I'm glad that I'm hoping that that's the reason why it's being delayed, but we'll see. Also, X-Men 97 season 2 confirmed, including 4 major superhero teams. Um, X-Men 97 confirmed to include 4 major superhero teams. This is an article from the Direct, October 2024. Um, New York Comic Con trailer, season 2 confirmed that the season will feature 4 teams. X-Men Team Past, which looks like it's Magneto, Rogue, Nightcrawler, and Beast and Professor X. 90s Team X-Men, which look to include Cable, Sunspot, Jubilee, and Colossus. But Bishop and Forge will be the main drive forces in this timeline. Team Future for X-Men, which looks like it's going to really be Cyclops and Jean Grey, along with a teenage version of their son, Nathan Summers. And then X Factor looks like it's going to be included also. For the first time in modern media, season 2 will introduce fans to a classic group of X-Men known as X Factor in the comics. So that's cool, man. That's cool. As long as they can, I will just say, as long as they can juggle the timelines well, then I'm okay with that. And then, what do you think of David Ellison wanting David Zaslav to become co-executive chief and co-chairman of a merged Paramount? I mean, it's just two rich people, trying to give more opportunities to rich people. I mean, they're all in the same vein. You understand? Like, they're all in the same vein. It doesn't surprise me. Have I checked out YouTuber Morphin Master's channel and videos? I have not. Maybe I'll check it out though. Thank you for your questions. Marcelino, did you know this about the original origin of Venom in the comics? Initially, Venom's host wasn't going to be Eddie Brock. It was a pregnant woman. David Michelin's original pitch involved a pregnant woman was rushing to the hospital with her husband to deliver the baby. They would be hailing a cab, and in the middle of it, Spider-Man would be fighting a supervillain. The cab driver would be distracted by the fight and accidentally run over the woman's husband, killing him. Oh, Lord. The woman would then be rushed to the hospital where she would lose both her baby and her sanity. After spending several years in a mental institute, she would then swear vengeance against Spider-Man and get a symbiote suit. God damn, that's dark. That's dark. Probably why they didn't go that route. That's dark. But that would have been hella incredible. That sounds like some shit that would create carnage. You know what I'm saying? That's dope though. I never heard that before, but thanks for bringing that to my attention. I kind of dig that. Did you ever read the Clone Saga in the Ultimate Universe by Brian Michael Bendis and Bagley? It fixed the original Clone Saga. In this version, Ben Riley is his own character, not a clone. It starts off with Kirk Connors and his assistant Ben Riley creating a Carnage symbiote that goes rabid and kills Gwen. Kirk Connors turns himself in, but Ben Riley steals his work for his own ambition. Several months Later, Peter tries to continue his friendship with MJ only to be attacked by Scorpion. During the fight, it's revealed that Scorpion is a clone of Peter and MJ is kidnapped by another clone named Kane, who seeks to turn MJ into a goblin monster. Peter then finds a now alive Gwen Stacy only to then learn that she's actually the Carnate Symbiote. Peter is then rescued by Jessica Drew, who in this version is a female clone of Peter. They both team up to rescue MJ and learn that the true mastermind is Dr. Ock. After a battle, Jessica Drew leaves to continue hero work, and Peter moves forward to strengthen his relationship with MJ and Aunt May. The comic focuses on three main clones, each representing Peter in some form. There's Kane, who's Peter with his moral, wanting to still protect others, but in ways that can hurt them. And then Scorpion is Peter, who's if only based himself on powers alone with zero humanity. And Jessica Drew's story is one about self-discovery and written as transgender. This version of Jessica Drew is often viewed as more beloved than Earth 616. I had never read that one before. You know, I've got a couple of I had a couple of Ultimate Spider-Man during Peter's run with Brian Michael Bendis. But I definitely missed out on that storyline for sure. But maybe I'll find a way to check it out again, or check it out for a first time. I was hoping to save this for when Stuart was here, but did you see Zack Snyder's cartoon Twilight of the Gods? It's a revenge story where the group of people work together to kill Thor and the Norse gods. It's fulfilled as gratuitous sex scenes, constant action, never learning more about characters aside from them fighting, boring exposition, so much more. I have called it a ripoff of Blood of Zeus, which is a million times better. It suffers from the same problem as Rebel Moon. It's typical Zack Snyder. I have not. I am curious if Stuart has seen it though. I have heard of it. I don't know. Did I? I think I might have posted like a poster of it on our Facebook page when it was released, but I don't think I ever had the opportunity to watch it. But no, I never saw it. Sorry about that. AJ, the Morphing Grid, the dark origins of RPM. RPM's post-apocalyptic setting in Corinth City, the last bastion of humanity against the machine army of Vengeance, is immediately underscored in the series premiere. Right before the cliffhanger, Ziggy's enthusiastic cheer of "Go Rangers" is met with Dylan's perplexing question, "What's a Power Ranger?" This seemingly naive line is a dark piece of foreshadowing, subtly suggesting a world where the legacy of heroes is forgotten or destroyed, which is later hinted at in the episode Ancient History. In that episode, the discovery of a battle-damaged helmet identical to Operations Overdrive Red Rangers within the ruins of the ominous Alphabet Soup facility suggests that all previous Power Rangers, from MMPR to Jungle Fury, may have been defeated or killed by the Machine Apocalypse. This would explain why RPM Ranger Operator series are the last hope for humanity, and why Dr. K, who created Vengeance while a prisoner of Alphabet Soup, was forced to develop her own unique morphing grid equivalent, the Biofield, to power her new team. Given the strong thematic link and subtle visual evidence implying the destruction of the pre-existing Power Ranger universe, how significant do you think the in-universe continuity of the discovery of the Overdrive Ranger helmet is for the wider Power Rangers multiverse theory? Given the strong thematic link and subtle visual evidence implying the destruction of that pre-existing Ranger universe, how significant do you think the in-universe continuity of the discovery is for the? Oh, I'm sure it's massive. I'm sure it's massive. I also just think like those are great opportunities, I think, for like stories to be told that we just unfortunately missed out on. I would have loved to have seen um that story kind of unfold as to how we got where we are today, in RPM time. My friends call me Joseph. Spider-Man 3 is often criticized for its crowded narrative featuring multiple villains and storylines, leading to be deemed misunderstood and underrated by some. The film introduced Flint Marko, Sandman, who was revealed to be the truth, though accidental killer of Uncle Ben, a twist many fans felt less than the original tragedy. Despite Marco's sympathetic motivation to fund his daughter's medical treatment, Harry Osborn, driven by the belief that Peter killed his father, initially took on the Green Goblin persona, only for his memory loss and later recovery to be seen as a narrative detour before he ultimately learned the truth from his butler and made a redemptive sacrifice. Harry Osborn was a fiend in that movie, dude. He was just evil as can be. The arrival of the alien symbiote was another major plot point. Peter briefly remained himself when the symbiote first bonded to his regular suit, but as his life spiraled, he fully embraced the black suit. Under significant influence, Peter acted completely out of character, a trait many viewed misunderstood was intended from the comics, leading to public embarrassment, physical violence against Mary Jane, and professionally ruining rival photographer Eddie Brock by exposing his fake black suited Spider Man photos, which contributed to Brock becoming the final villain, Venom. Fans criticized that Venom's introduction was too late and that both he and Harry's character developments were cut short by their deaths. Ultimately, Spider-Man No Way Home provided a soft redemption for the film, as Maguire's Peter referenced coming to terms with losing both Uncle Ben and Harry and having rekindled his relationship with Mary Jane. Given the polarizing reception upon release versus the subtle closure provided No Way Home, did the later film successfully prompt a genuine critical reevaluation of Spider-Man 3's overall narrative and thematic ambition? I don't think so. No, I personally don't think so. Maybe the relationship with Mary Jane, yes, but everything outside of that, personally, no, I don't think so. Alex Ramirez, what do you think of the dedication to practical effects of Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight trilogy, exemplifying by the aerial stunts and functional Batmobile? Is certainly a major factor in its endearing claim, offering a grounded realism often missing in more CGI heavy superhero films, including those featuring Ben Affleck's Batman. God damn it. That's the second time this has happened today. Hold on a second. What is that? Oh, it's my wire. What the hell, guys? Sorry. It's just acting up today. There we go. Including those featuring Ben Affleck's Batman primarily and crossover events. Bane's compelling portrayal by Tom Hardy, though memorable, often takes a backseat to the performance widely considered the trilogy's most impactful. That lasting cinematic performance belongs to Heath Ledger's Joker, whose anar- anarchic complexity and Oscar-winning turn fundamentally redefined the modern superhero villain. Considering his lasting legacy, do you think any recent villain's performance has matched the cultural cinematic impact of Ledger's Joker? Oh shit. Any recent villain performance has matched the cultural and cinematic impact of Ledger's Joker. Damn, nothing's coming to mind. I'm going through my list of like Marvel villains. Cultural and cinematic impact. I'm trying to go through DC villains now. You know, I would like to know what you guys think in that regards. If there's anything that comes to mind, I feel like some people would put Killmonger maybe in that. Maybe not as like I think from like culturally maybe cinematic impact maybe Thanos, but culturally like to be able to do both. Culturally maybe Killmonger, cinematic impact maybe Thanos, but outside of that, no. No, not really. No. I'm trying to think. If you guys have any suggestions, let me know. But I can't think of any. Jessica Fryman, would you like to see Thundercats return to TV with a new animated series? Yes. I'm still waiting for a live action, but I'll take an animated series. When do you think we'll get a new season of Avatar: The Last Airbender? Probably 2026 for sure. I just don't know when. And with The Simpsons and Bob's Burgers getting movies, do you think it's time for Futurama to get its own movie? Is Futurama still happening? If it's still current, yeah, why not? Marky Barco, what do you think and feel about this situation? The rapid approval of the upcoming 2026 release of Mortal Kombat sequel, along with the planned Street Fighter movie, despite critical reviews for the prior installment script, strongly indicates that brand recognition and box office success are primary drivers for continuing established franchises. This pattern enforces the industry's focus on commercial performance over critical thoughts, particularly with pre-existing intellectual property, as the video game adaptation genre proves its significant financial and cultural value. Given this environment, does the prioritization of profit over reviews fundamentally diminish the importance of storytelling and script quality and established franchises, potentially discouraging studios from excitedly backing original critical acclaimed concepts? Um, I mean, to be fair, we haven't seen the Mortal Kombat 2 script or the Street Fighter movie script. You know, it, money will always be prioritized over importance of storytelling and script quality. Always. The heavy reliance on IP and franchises, I think, shows that. But I don't think that means you have to necessarily sacrifice storytelling and script quality in established franchises, right? Maybe as you go on with like 8, 9 sequels like Fast and the Furious, then maybe, right? Then maybe. If you have a franchise that's been around that long and you're continuing to make sequel after sequel after sequel after sequel, and you can see that the quality gets worse and worse and worse. Some would say that the Mortal Kombat sequel that we're about to get is probably better than the first Mortal Kombat. I don't know that. I can't say that for sure. But you got Carl Urban, who's a much better actor than anybody else that was in the first one, coming on board now. Something in the script certainly spoke to him. I don't necessarily know if the moving of Mortal Kombat 2 Summer was simply financial, or if they felt that positive about the script that they had, in the sense of this is actually a better story and a better script than the first one. And so we want to put it in a better time where it can generate bigger finances at the box office, hopefully because it's also good. We haven't had a Street Fighter movie since the 90s, so it's not like it's a franchise that's been dependent on, and this is like the fifth Street Fighter movie, and at this point they're just releasing them for a fat paycheck. But anytime that you tap into a franchise, it is because they think that's gonna make the most money because of the fact that it is recognizable. Um, I don't know if it discourages studios from backing original concepts, but I think, I mean, maybe it does to a certain extent. Um, but I don't necessarily know if they're putting out big IPs and sacrificing story, at least not when it comes to Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter yet. You know, there are really big IPs out there that probably have good stories that people enjoy and they keep coming back for it because the quality is there, not just because it is a familiar franchise. Um, you know, because you then in turn as a studio will take that money from a big budget film and then you will then turn it around and then put it into backing of original and critical acclaimed concepts. Um, and there have been a couple of original movies that I thought have been great this year also. So they kind of work hand in hand, but I do think that they studios are reliant on big IP to make big money easily. But I don't necessarily know if all the time if they're meant with the intention of sacrificing quality. So yeah, I hope that answers the question. The most talented man in the world. The series premiere of Samurai. We introduced Bulk, a veteran of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, now mentoring his nephew Spike. Spike, who bears a striking resemblance to his father and Bulk's best friend Skull, complete with the same distinct laugh, quickly developed a crush on Mia, the Pink Ranger. Though Spike accidentally found Mia's driver's license, hinting he discovered her identity and kept it secret, the identity of his mother remains a mystery that sparks fan theories, particularly that it could be Kimberly Hart, given Skull's early crush on her and Kimberly's off-screen breakup with Tommy in Power Rangers Zeo because she met someone else. Eventually returned to the series finale, appearing to be wealthy as he arrived in the limo to pick up his son. Given the theories surrounding Spike's parentage, could Kimberly, mysterious someone else mentioned in Zeo, actually be Skull, making her Spike's mother? Maybe it was a one-time fling. She wanted something different from Tommy, you know. Thought Skull was like the bad boy. Wanted to give that a spin for a little bit and made a mistake. I mean, who knows? Maybe. I'm open to headcanons if it makes sense, and if it was a breakup, if they were separated, right? Then you know anything's possible. We got a couple more here, and we're gonna wrap up. Himi Chikako, what's up, Himi? Thank you for your questions. I think this might be the first time we've gotten questions from you, so thank you for participating, Himi. Hopefully you stuck around or will come back to the video to watch me answer this one. What are some of your favorite martial arts action films? The Raid has martial arts in it, so put Raids 1 and 2 up there for me. I don't know if I would call John Wick. No, I wouldn't put John Wick as an action film, as martial arts action. That's more like gun fu. I'm not gonna put John Wick in this lineup, but I will put the Raid in there for sure, 1s and 2. I'm a big fan of Legend of Drunken Master, Rumble in the Bronx, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. I think is great. There were the Ip Man films with Donnie Yen are incredible. You really can't go wrong with any Bruce Lee movie, honestly. Enter the Dragon is a classic. The Chinese Connection, I think, is another fantastic one. I can't remember which policeman one was that Jackie Chan that I was a big fan of. He also had another one. not great storytelling wise, but um, great action. Also, is another Jackie Chan movie. Who I Am or I Am or Who Am I or Who I Am or something like that. That was another good one. Those are some of my favorite martial art action films. Any comic book character that haven't been adapted and those that you want a sequel. I still want to see Zatanna. I really do want to see Zatanna. Um, there's probably a lot of DC characters also. I'm still waiting for the Legion of Superheroes to be adapted in some way, shape, or form, live action on the big screen. Um, the Demon would be another one from DC. Trying to think of some Marvel characters. Definitely still waiting for Miles Morales. But yeah, those are just a few. And those that you want a sequel, I would take a sequel to the New Mutants. I really would. I really would. I would love to see them again. Do you have any top 5 TV shows that you want to recommend? Oh Lord. Top 5 TV shows. God dang. Lost is definitely up there. If you haven't had the opportunity to Lost, please do. It will take you forever because there's 5 seasons and there's like 20 plus episodes a season. It will take you forever, but I think it's a fantastic journey. So definitely Lost. Stranger Things up there for sure. Game of Thrones, if people haven't watched it, that's 3. Um, I haven't watched it yet, but I know a lot of people love it. Shogun. Um, I trust the people that I know that have watched it and all the great stuff that I've heard from it. Um, man, top 5 TV show. I don't, I don't. Another show. I don't know if a lot of people watched. A recent show, Paradise, was a great one. That got suggested to me, and I loved it. I think that was on Hulu. I think it was Hulu. Fargo on FX would be a great one for you guys to check out. True Detective season 1. Chernobyl. Chernobyl. If you haven't seen Chernobyl on HBO Max, that's a great show. Yeah, those would be some of my suggestions. Check some of those out. Blossom. Have you noticed that it's been 11 years since Toei made Tokuger? I can't believe it's already that long. Oh my god, that's crazy. The 10 years later movie, though, we're officially in that set time they grew up and their younger selves help regain their imagination powers to be rangers again. When the time comes, my counterparts for them will do the same for their younger selves, except my friend thought the circuit from Time Force somehow bringing their older selves to kids' current timeline. How's that? I kind of dig it. I kind of dig it. Man, I gotta find the 10 years later for that. I gotta watch the 10 years later for Tokuger for sure. Tokuger is actually one that I want to rewatch, and then I do want to do a 10 years later for it. Do you guys remember the documentary about Stan Lee? If so, do you remember how he made Spider-Man? I once heard him say that he made Spider-Man having all those said problems for both his identities to be relatable to those who read his stories. I guess he did that with all the Marvel heroes to make them feel more relatable and more like real humans. What do you guys think about that? I mean, for Spider-Man, yeah, at least for Spider-Man, for me, I certainly always felt that way. I'm sure that X-Men probably felt that way for certain people too. But like Spider-Man is one of the reasons why he's one of my favorite superhero characters of all time. It's just how relatable that he is, you know. the struggling every day, 9 to 5, to make ends meet, to pay your fucking bills, but yet at the same time have this sense of humanity to take care of the people around you and be selfless and be a hero to the people in your neighborhood. I mean, that's something that we should all be striving for, you know what I mean? But it is those everyday struggles, and still, despite how much this man gets beat down, he still manages to overcome. I love stuff like that. Doomsday. Do you think Zach Taylor, the Black Ranger, is required to be played by a black man? I've seen a lot of people on the internet saying stuff like, make the Black Ranger black again, acting like Zach is supposed to be African American and the only black skinned Ranger. And it's like, why should that matter as long as the actor is good? The race should not matter. I mean, for example, 2017 movie made Chinese actor Ludi Lin in the role of Zach, and he did awesome. He was very charming, and his comedic timing was great. I personally don't care about the race of the actor playing Zach as long as they could pull it off. Yeah, no, I think I mean I enjoyed Ludi Lin as the Black Ranger in there, you know. I don't think the Black Ranger needs to be black, you know. Because his color, the color of his costume wasn't dependent on his skin color, you know. It was just a color scheme he was given, you know. Zach's um perception of who like Ludi Lin's character is not trying to be the same Zach Taylor from MMPR. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like Ludi Lin's character had the same upbringing or the same parentage, or, you know, lived the same lifestyle as Zach Taylor from the original MMPR. Yeah, they share the same name, but the characteristics of who they are as people are like two completely different things. So being the Black Ranger or a Red Ranger or a Yellow Ranger, like the color scheme you were landed with doesn't mean that that's the person that needs to represent you. So you know, I think it can fluctuate anyway. So whoever wants to be the Black Ranger, be the Black Ranger. That's cool. Two, if the new Superman movie deserves any Oscars, which category do I think it should get? Maybe visual effects. Maybe visual effects. Yeah. Um, maybe sound. Maybe sound and maybe visual effects. But that's really where it's at. I've seen better James. Like, look, I enjoy Superman. You know, I had a good time with the movie. I don't know if I hail it as much as everybody else does, though. You know, I while I do think it's the best Superman movie, I don't think it's the best quality film I've ever seen. If that makes sense, right? Um, like, I've seen James Gunn direct better movies. I've seen better scripts from James Gunn. Uh, maybe supporting actor by Eddie Gathegi, maybe, but that's where it would stop for me, though. That's where it would stop me. You know, I soundtrack, no, soundtrack fell to the wayside for me a little bit. Um, so yeah, maybe visuals, maybe sound, and a reach here, but maybe supporting actor by Eddie. But I felt like those are hard to come by. It's very few. You know, I think they only picked like five actors for supporting actor, and I think I've seen five other better actors in film this year. So two out of those three maybe nominated. I don't know if it's gonna win, but as far as like an Oscar, like a, well, you said deserves any Oscar. I don't know if it deserves an Oscar. Maybe a nomination. Maybe a nomination. I don't know if it would win in any of those departments, though. Hope that's not too blasphemous for people, though. But yeah, thank you guys for all of your live viewer questions today. I really do appreciate it. Guys, I got to get this laptop fixed. I have been procrastinating my ass off for so long. This week on my lunch break or after work or whatever the case may be, I got to find time to get my laptop looked at because um, working on this other computer here is just not doing it for me. It's so far away from my modem. It's really giving me problems. So we'll see how this goes in the future. But trying to bring more higher quality stuff. It's really one of the reasons why I have not um, done more content on the YouTube channel page is because of lack of quality that I'm so used to on this channel. And I don't want to put out piss poor quality for you guys. Like it literally hurts me every weekend to come onto this show and have these internet problems and be buffering out or freezing on you guys, because that's not the type of quality that you guys deserve. So I definitely need to get back onto my get this laptop fixed and start pumping out more quality content for you guys going forward. So that will be my focus here this upcoming week and heading into the holidays for you guys. So thank you for your continued patience and your continued support coming back week to week. I definitely do appreciate you guys a ton. But that will do it for today's episode of A Plus Hero Report. Me and Stuart will certainly be back next weekend for you. Well, what's next weekend? Is next weekend Halloween or let me see. Where's my calendar, yo? Oh man, Halloween is at the end of this week. Yikes. Okay. So we should be back next week to go ahead and kick in November with you guys. If you want to follow us on social media, you can follow us everywhere at A Plus Opinions on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Threads, I believe. Over on Threads too. We're very active on our Facebook page on a daily basis for you guys. That's where we drop all the news throughout the week, whether that be news articles, posters, new trailers, behind the scenes featurettes, anything to keep you guys up to date throughout the week as to what's going on. And then at the end of the week, we take 6 topics from there and we talk about them here on our main page, our YouTube channel, A Plus Hero Report. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and do so. Hit that subscribe button along with that bell notification, so when we drop brand new videos, you guys will certainly be notified. But other than that, that's going to do it for me here today. I'll certainly see you guys next week. Until then, do me a big favor. As always, guys, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and keep it A+. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.